Sports Channel Report. The executive producer is Steve Corman. Today's game has been produced and directed by Bob Albrecht. Remote facilities provided by Trio Video of Chicago. Stay tuned following the Sports Channel Report for the Class 6A Championship game, Thornton versus Downers Grove North, coming up in about 15 minutes. For Jack McInerney, I'm Mike Lederman, and for Joe Passion as well. So long from Hancock Stadium in Normal, Illinois. Once again, the final score of the Class 5A Championship to Mount Carmel, 24, Wheaton Central nothing. So long, everybody, and have a great weekend.
Welcome to the Between Games edition of the Sports Channel Report. I'm Jim Blaney. In just a little bit, we'll be going back down to Normal for the Class 6A championship game. Should be a good matchup. Thornton, the team that lost to East St. Louis Senior in last year's championship game, against Downers Grove North, the team that knocked out East St. Louis Senior just 1 week ago. For Downers Grove North, this is a bit more than a football game. You see, Downers Grove North has never been to the state championship football game. It's pretty wild what's going on out in Downers Grove because the whole community is getting behind the team. Cynics will accuse Downers Grove North fans of being a bit too enthusiastic about their football team. But give the Trojan boosters a break. After all, they're new at this.
Our school is just ecstatic. The kids are excited. The whole community, it goes beyond the school. I don't know who wants it more, the players or their parents. They're very, very excited in town.
It's just great everywhere I go. I wear my Downers Grove North jacket. I was looking for shoes last night. They're like, oh yeah, you're doing really good, and they're pumped up too. They're all going to be at the game. It's just a great feeling to be in a community.
Purple is the color for fall at Downers Grove North. The Trojans have come up with a new T-shirt for each of their games, 12 wins and 12 tries. The T-shirts sell a little faster with each passing week.
We've never lost on the road, so we've come up with Road Warriors.
How many of these have you sold, and how many do you expect to sell?
Well, in just a matter of less than 2 hours, we did sell 12 dozen. So, and prior to that, we have sold probably, I don't know, at least 100 every week. I can't even keep count anymore.
Dolores Concar has been a busy lady this week. She is one of the people charged with handling the ticket requests for the state championship game against Thornton. The calls started pouring in soon after the Trojans handled East St. Louis Senior in the semifinals.
Everybody was just excited. We were getting calls about sales and everything, and what time the game was going to be and where and all that, and, you know, if we were going to have directions and where we were going to sell tickets, and if we were going to have more T-shirts, new buttons.
All this hoopla is for a rather unlikely 12-0 team. When the season began, the team had modest goals, especially since their first trip to the state playoffs was just 1 year ago. Now the Trojans are one game away from being state champs, while knocking off two undefeated teams on the way to the state championship game.
We realistically thought we could win our conference, but we never imagined anything like this happening, not in a long shot. We didn't think it'd be like this.
Is this something that you and your teammates expected when you started two-a-days back in August?
Well, Coach said that we're going to be state champions. Some of us didn't believe it. Some of us, you know, kind of thought, yeah, that'd be great.
The win over East St. Louis Senior will always be satisfying, but the Trojans want one more win to finish off the season. Lining up across the ball from Downers Grove North in the 6A championship game will be a state championship final experienced team. Thornton, of course, got to the finals last year and lost to East St. Louis Senior. Thornton got to this year's championship game with a victory over Loyola Academy last week in the semifinals. And joining us now is John Herster, the coach from Loyola Academy. I guess if anybody knows anything about Thornton, you do, because you just looked at their tapes last week. John, I was out at Thornton's practice the other day, and the thing that amazed me about them was their lack of size. They don't look like a very big football team. Will that lack of size be a factor in the game against Downers Grove North?
No, I don't think so, Jim. I think the key ingredient for their offense especially is a kid by the name of David Wright. He's their tailback. And he's rushed for over 2,000 yards this year and has over 21 TDs. So I think he has to be stopped, and he really has come up with a lot of big plays as far as Thornton's concerned. Another key ingredient for their offense is their tight end, number 89, Barry Starks. Has had a considerable number of touchdowns this year, and they really emphasize the tight end attack as far as the tailback's concerned. So they're going to be running quite a bit to their tight end, who is number 89, and he is not only a great receiver, but a very, very good blocker. And the final man that I think we've got to talk about is their quarterback. In the last couple of games, both against St. Rita and against Loyola Academy, he's been kind of injured off and on in the game, and I think what's going to be really important in the Downers Grove game is how healthy is he. Defensively, if you look at them, their nose guard's probably their best defensive player. His name is Sterling Lucky, number 70, who's a junior. Very, very good football player, very mobile, great team player, and he has to be stopped. He has to be neutralized. And I think one area that we have to stress, too, with Thornton is their secondary. Their secondary against the run is very, very tough, very aggressive, play really tough man-to-man concepts. So I think they're going to have to be attacked, and they're going to have to be taken into consideration when attacking Thornton.
As we mentioned, John, you had the opportunity of seeing Thornton close up as you got ready to play them last week. If you had a chance to talk to Pete Ventrelli, the Downers Grove North coach, before the game, what would you tell him that he can expect from Thornton?
Well, certainly the big thing is not to make the big mistake. What Thornton has been able to do is, in the games that we've seen them play in the last 3 games, including our own, is that they've capitalized on mistakes. If you make a big mistake, they're going to capitalize on it, and they're going to score.
John, thank you so much for coming in. Of course, it will be Downers Grove North against Thornton coming up. We were out at Thornton earlier this week, and the players were very honest about it. They admitted that they were a little disappointed that they won't get another shot at East St. Louis Senior in the state championship finals.
Everyone saying, well, if y'all go downstate and play East St. Louis, then y'all gonna lose. You know, y'all gonna lose. So now, you know, we was like, oh, so okay, that's okay, you know, but it doesn't matter who wins, you know what I'm saying, but, you know, we still gonna play our same game, so, you know, we're not just really disappointed, but we're just a tad bit upset.
And even though it's been 365 days since last year's state championship game, the Thornton Wildcats are still upset about their performance when they lost in last year's title game to East St. Louis Senior.
We didn't play well. We didn't feel that, you know, we showed our best last year to redeem ourselves. Not often in life you get a second chance.
We had to get another shot at it, you know, come on with the gold. You know, we didn't feel too great about coming back with a little medallion, you know, but we accomplished something for ourselves this year. We plan on coming back with the gold.
When this year's class played their junior season last year and they went downstate, they were just happy to get a chance to play for the state title, but that won't be good enough this year. Thornton plans on going down to normal and coming back with a win.
Pressure is going to be upon us to go back downstate and win it. You know, so last year, you know, we was like, we're going downstate, but no one ever said we're going to win state. So now this year, we're saying we're going to win state.
That was our goal, to get back down there and get another shot at it. And, you know, we've had our setbacks, but, you know, the kids have always kept sight of that goal, and they're, you know, one game away from achieving that.
Today's game will be the only championship chance for Thornton linebacker Enrique Calderon. Enrique was a member of the Thornton team as a sophomore, but his family moved to Mexico and he missed his junior season. Now he's back, and he's really happy to have a chance for a state title.
I was upset because I came back from Mexico and I found out, oh, they went downstate. I was like, oh, man, I missed my opportunity, you know, to play again. And I'm happy I'm back and, you know, ready to participate in, you know, this championship game.
What would it mean for you personally to become a state champion on Saturday?
I think it'd be very great, you know, great experience for me.
The state 6A championship game is coming up next here on Sports Channel. Thornton against Downers Grove North should be one of the better games of the year. Yesterday, 4 state champions were crowned across the state of Illinois in the various classes. Let's take a look back and look at the highlights of yesterday's state championship games. High winds kept the score low in the 1A title game. Neither Bloomington Central Catholic nor Sterling Newman could score in regulation, but in the overtime period, Bloomington Central Catholic gets a field goal from Todd Kerrs. 3-0 Central Catholic had the lead. When Sterling got the ball, they take it down to the 1-foot line. On 4th down, they decide to go for the state title. Jay Craig delivers. Sterling wins it 6-3. In the Class 2A championship game, Coach Dave Lett of Seneca saw his team get off to a great start. Opening possession of the game from the 12-yard line. Paul Bauer will take it into the end zone for the touchdown. Seneca led 8-0. Second drive of the game, Bauer goes in again. Seneca wins it 34-8. In the 3A championship game, Hickey Thompson of Belleville Altough A playoff record 41 carries for 257 yards. Belleville-Althoff defends their state title by beating Rock Island Alaman. In the 4A championship game, 3 minutes left. Joliet Catholic trying for a 2-point conversion. Jeff Bonebrake makes a great catch. Joliet Catholic leads 21-14. 31 seconds left. Geneseo tries for a 2-point conversion to win it. They don't get it. Joliet Catholic now 7-0 in state championship games. One more state champion is yet to be crowned in the 1990 Illinois State Football Championships. In just a few moments, we'll be going back down to Illinois State for the battle between Thornton and Downers Grove North for the Class 6A championship.
Live from Hancock Stadium on the campus of Illinois State University in Normal, it's the battle for the 6A State Football Championship between the Thornton Wildcats, who are 11-2, and the Trojans of Downers Grove North. They're undefeated at 13-0. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Stocker, along with Bill Gorley. A year ago for the 6A title, it was Thornton against East St. Louis. Many people figured one of those two teams would return this year to the title game. Few figured it would be Thornton. Last year for Thornton, it was Rory Lee as their big running gun. This year, his understudy a year ago, David Wright, is now the star.
And David Wright, the first time he touches the football in a football game against Chicago, Whitney Young scores a 75-yard touchdown. Later on in the season in the playoffs, he sets a record of 404 yards with 38 carries and 5 touchdowns. A sensational football player.
All right, now what does Thornton have to do to win here this afternoon against this Downers Grove team?
Well, you've got to worry about the option that Downers Grove runs. And, of course, it's patience against the option. You've got to be able to take and put key people in the places to take away the option. And you have to maintain your offensive balance. They have been throwing the football. They have been able to run the football. And then, of course, the key thing is today is Floyd Coleman, the quarterback, injured, or is Dave Wright injured? Both of them have been nicked.
Now, Downers Grove North has a quarterback named Dan Marino. Don't let that fool you. This is a running football team, and their biggest threat on both sides of the football is Jeremy Samples.
Jeremy Sample is a true two-way player. He's a linebacker, and, of course, he's also their key in the veer option attack. And, of course, Bill Mosel said that's the person they have to stop if they're going to win a football game.
And in terms of keys for victory for the Trojans of Downers Grove North, obviously that small offensive line has to do its job.
Well, that's the key, too. Again, because of the smallness of their size, they have to worry about being overtaken by Thornton. And, of course, you've got Sterling Lucky, who's an awful good nose guard against their offensive center for Downers Grove North. And then to contain Thornton's speed. Tremendous team speed, and they'll be able to cover the option. And then, of course, one of the keys that Downers Grove North has always done is no turnovers, only 13 all year, and that's pretty low for a high-risk offense.
So we're set to determine the Class 6A state champion here in Illinois high school football. Back with the starting lineups from Hancock Stadium after this timeout, exclusively on Sports Channel.
Really good music comes from Clarendon Hills, or Sounds Deluxe on Ogden to be exact, featuring the latest speaker innovations from Bose.
Get the SE5 Acoustimass speakers October 26th through November 26th. Get $100 off any speaker trade-in. The SE5, small in size, big in sound. That's any pair of speakers, no matter what the condition, for $100 off.
So get into the quality sounds of Sounds Deluxe on Ogden in Clarendon Hills.
You got rain, wet, bumps and humps, curves, mud, holes and lumps, all the ruts and rocks that you're up against. You need Bridgestone confidence.
With just a finger's width of tire between you and the road, you need world-class technology, quality engineered to give you Bridgestone confidence.
Bridgestone tires are available at AK Tire Service, just 1/2 block east of Main Street in Downers Grove.
Lober Motors in Lincolnwood, the North Shore's largest Mercedes-Benz dealer, is also the North Shore's newest Audi dealer. Now, the same dealership that can make driving a Mercedes-Benz more affordable than ever can also offer you the Lober Audi 3-year test drive. Get all scheduled maintenance at no extra cost for 3 years or 50,000 miles. Come to Lober Motors in Lincolnwood, the North Shore's import alternative on Lincoln at Toohey in Lincolnwood.
And compared to the weather we have had in years past, this is downright tropical. Temperatures in the 60s. The wind has picked up, and it will be a factor in the game from one end of the field to the other, from the south to the north. As you see the flags fluttering in the breeze, that is less than it was yesterday. As you take a look there, the temperature right now, 56 degrees and sunny and clear. Very pleasant afternoon for football here in the 6A championship between Downers Grove North and Thornton. One thing that really concerns Pete Ventrelli and Downers Grove North, Bill, is the fact is, let's face it, Thornton was here a year ago. Yes, they were embarrassed, 55-8. It was a very long bus ride home for Thornton, but still a lot of players who are playing here today were on this field a year ago.
Well, that's a good point, Tom, because Coach Mosel even alluded to the fact that last year he felt his football team just felt relieved that they were in the state championship, and they really want to atone for that 55-8 defeat to East St. Louis. It was embarrassing.
Meanwhile, Downers Grove North out of the West Suburban Silver Conference, winning their first conference championship since I was in the conference 21 years ago. It's been quite a drought for the Trojans. They are a group of overachievers. In fact, college scouts have told Pete Ventrelli, Coach, you have one heck of a group of overachieving football players.
Well, and of course, that's the way people all over the state have looked at it, is that they are overachievers, but they play together very well, and that's why they're here today.
We're about set to introduce to you the lineups for this afternoon 6A championship game. And to do that, let's go to the stadium public address announcer.
This afternoon's Class 6A state championship game featuring the Wildcats of Harvey Thornton and the Trojans of Downers Grove North. First, introducing the starting defensive lineup for Thornton High School of Harvey. Here is the head coach, Bill Moselle. At left end, number 31, Melvin Roberts. At left tackle, number 75, Eric Jones. At right tackle, number 78, Cassell James. At right end, number 86, Mario Cole. At nose guard, number 70, Sterling Lucky. At linebacker, number 60, Henry Calderon. At linebacker, number 28, Lawrence Moore. At defensive back, number 24, Kyle Johnson. At strong safety, number 4, Damon Henderson. At free safety, number 23, Fred Price. And at defensive back, number 22, Kelly Johnson. Also at defensive back, number 43, Tremaine Byers. Those are the Wildcats of Harvey Thornton. And now, let's meet the starting offensive lineup for Downers Grove North. The head coach, Pete Ventrelli. At wide receiver, number 80, Kyle Nemenich. At left tackle, number 64, Pete Stone. At left guard, number 65, Keith Narozny. At center, number 56, Chris Presley. At right guard, number 55, Ray Riegel. At right tackle, number 77, Rob Morstadt. At tight end, number 81, Rick Schroeder. At quarterback, number 44, Dan Marino. At halfback, number 20, Jim Dunlap. At halfback, number 32, Jeremy Sample. receiver, number 82, John Scott. Those are the Trojans of Downers Grove North.
So there you have the lineups for the final game of this big weekend of football here at Hancock Stadium. And down on the sidelines, covering the action down there, is our Joe Passion. Joe?
Well, Tom, one thing to add about the temperatures and the wind that you mentioned, it definitely is colder on the near side of the field where the shade is. About 10 degrees colder than what Thornton will feel on the opposite side of the field. By the way, the wind that is coming straight out of the south will definitely affect the kicking game of both teams. One final note, the officiating crew here. As a group, they have seen these two teams 7 times this year. That will make it easier for them to call a good game. I hope you guys have a good game. We'll see you later on.
Thanks, Joe. It ought to be a dandy. Bill Loud is the referee. Mike Holba is the linesman. Take a look. The umpire, Edward Johnston. And Mike Holba, the linesman, Gene Krupa. Back with the big band there is the line judge, and back judge is Dan Miller. Is that a factor, Bill, as an ex-head coach yourself, an officiating crew that is familiar with the things you do?
Absolutely, because then they know what to look for. They know the little nuances, and if there's anything special that you put in, they understand what you're trying to do, and it makes for a better game.
To open up the football game, the Thornton Wildcats will kick it off, and we'll be heading down the field from your right to left. Downers Grove North is in the purple jerseys. Thornton is wearing the whites. And in to kick it off for the Thornton Wildcats is Henry Calderon. While back deep to receive is number 24 to the near side, Sean Schultens, and number 20, Jim Dunlap. Now the fans are going to all sorts of efforts to bring their team to victory here this afternoon. Jim Dunlap, one of the 2 deep men back. The dangerous man back there is Schultens. He has 3 kickoff returns for touchdowns this year. 99 yards against York, 95 against Lions, and 88 against Hinsdale Central. Hancock Stadium, the Cena were underway in the battle for the 6A championship. And it's Schultens at the 15. Slips and goes down behind his blocking to the 26-27 yard line. Run-oriented football team, despite the fact Dan Marino is the quarterback. No relation. This Dan Marino passed 55 times in a year. The other one throws 55 times in a game.
Well, he pitches the ball a lot, so he counts that as a pass.
Well, that's what Pete Ventrelli says to us. A pitch out is a forward pass. That's Jim Dunlap breaking to the open into Thornton territory, and he's going to go all the way. Making the saving tackle is Cassell James inside the 5-yard line.
And Cassell came out of nowhere to catch that young man. What a great run.
A 60-yard run on the first play from scrimmage for Jim Dunlap.
Just a straight-ahead dive, and Jimmy Dunlap, who's had 17 touchdowns, he really didn't have to change direction. He just started to go straight ahead. And you'll see Cassell come from nowhere. There he is, number 78. And he catches him from behind.
That's some pretty fair speed for a defensive tackle.
It sure is.
And a timeout has been called by the Trojans of Downers Grove North. Jim Dunlap, 1,100 yards on the year, nearly 7 yards a carry.
Some of the fans haven't even been able to settle down in their seat, and they already are on the 3-yard line.
There's Pete Ventrelli. Big break on the very first play of the game. Great execution in that small offensive line. And we're talking an offensive line, folks, for Downers Grove that averages 179 yards. You expect that in two-way football, not in a suburban Chicago team.
The one thing about an option offense, though, is your offensive line really doesn't have to blow people off. They just have to get in their face. And I think Downers Grove has excellent quickness, and that's one of the good things that they do. They get off the ball and get into people's face, and they have some tremendous backs that can get by, as we saw with Dunlap.
Let's take a look at Dunlap's extra effort, which enabled him to break free for the big game.
Well, he turns away right here. There he should have been tackled, and Kelly Johnson had him in his grasp and let go. And there's that young man, a defensive tackle. I'd like to have a defensive tackle that could run like that.
Keeping it is Marino, first and goal, and he is in for the touchdown. 2 plays into the football game, and Downers Grove is on the scoreboard. Marino with a 7th touchdown. Make that his 14th touchdown rushing of the year. And if you're the Thornton Wildcats and you're thinking back to exactly a year ago today, it's a nightmare coming true again.
And interesting enough, when we see this touchdown run, Marino fakes to the fullback and just follows right behind and just sticks his nose in there. But what I was going to talk about was a little bit about the veer attack, Tom, is 90% of the time when Downers Grove North runs the veer, they run the dive, they run it with Jeremy Sample.
And the point after is good. And so the ball game, not yet a minute old, already has Downers Grove leading 7-0 with 11:03 to go in the first quarter. So a blistering start for the 6A championship game, Bill.
Right, and the scouting report would say you look for Jeremy Sample the first time they run Jimmy Dunlap, and he, 3 yards short of a touchdown. What a tremendous way to start the football game in a championship game.
It was a year ago, East St. Louis getting off to a quick start, going on to the big win in winning over Thornton 55-8. Completing the undefeated season. But now all Thornton has to do, Bill, is beat the team that eliminated East St. Louis and snapped their 26-game winning streak.
And then, of course, you have the scoring drive. And that was what we call a quick one. 2 plays, 73 yards, 57 seconds.
It was quick in more ways than one, right?
I think everybody in the truck is awake now.
Into kickoff now for Downers Grove is Dan Santini. And back deep, Kelly Johnson, along with Melvin Roberts and David Wright. Johnson's in the middle. And it's a knuckleballing kick, and receiving it and going down at the 45-yard line for the Thornton Wildcats is Kyle Johnson.
Now, last night we had those kinds of squib kicks, but they were not on purpose.
Floyd Coleman was a sophomore quarterback in this game a year ago. You can see his improved passing numbers. Bill Mosel wanted to have more balance to the offense. That's something they accomplished this year. And that is David Wright. Hit hard, stays on his feet, and bangs it into Downers Grove territory to the 48-yard line. Chad Isaacson on the tackle. Took a lot of time for this offensive line to come together, in the words of Bill Mosel. And there is the backfield with Floyd Coleman, David Wright, now the star of the show. Melvin Roberts was a starter a year ago with the offensive line that took some time for them to come together. Remember, they had 2 losses going into the playoffs.
And Mahorchek is the one returning player.
And breaking through, Melvin Roberts, and he is down to the 33-yard line. Free safety Sean Schultens, a great athlete, makes the tackle for Downers.
If this game stays like this, where you get Melvin Roberts the ball, he's just going straight ahead. It's going to be a long football game. We're going to be talking about a lot of scoring.
First and 10 at the 33, and this ball game isn't even 2 minutes old, and now the officials.
And Melvin Roberts is down, and it looks like he had something wrong with his eye. He has a protective piece over his helmet for his eyes. Maybe he's got a problem with the contact. I'm not sure.
He has one of those Darth Vader masks. Of course, coming into the ball game, Floyd Coleman injured his ankle first in the playoff game against Homewood Flossmoor, and then in the semifinal game last week got tangled up with Roberts in the backfield, re-sprained it. David Wright comes into this ball game less than 100% with a bad ankle, and we learned in getting ready for this game that a year ago Rory Lee was nowhere close to 100% going into the championship game.
Right, and although I understand that David Wright does have a soft cast that he's wearing, but he's practiced all week with it and really hasn't had too many problems. So the young man looks like he might be ready to go. At least his first run, he certainly didn't back off.
Thornton, in getting here to Hancock Stadium, defeated Sandburg 43-22. Then jumped out in front 24-6 at halftime over Homewood Flossmoor in a big revenge game for the Wildcats. Then scored 2 touchdowns the last 31 seconds to beat St. Rita, and then took advantage of 2 second-half turnovers to defeat Loyola Academy. It's first and 10 from the 33, and that is David Wright. He had a hole that closed it quickly as he struggles to get to the 30-yard line after he picks up 3 yards. Defensive right end Mark Zundel, and this guy is a do-it-all defender as we take a look now at the Trojans' defensive lineup. They run a 5-2. Up on the front, Mike Berry, Al May, along with Kukra, Crumble, and there is Zundel. Boy, the exploits he's had this year. Two linebackers, Sample, plays both ways, along with Isaacson, whose brother was a linebacker a year ago. And you see the secondary, Kennedy Wallace, Katsafanis, and Schultz. Very athletic secondary. 2nd and 7 from the 30, the toss to David Wright. Cuts back, and he battles his way to the 25-yard line, setting up a 3rd and 2 situation. David Wright, over 2,000 yards on the year coming into today's ball game. What an impressive game in the playoffs against Homewood Flossmoor, rolling up a playoff record 407 yards.
And the thing that they're doing a little different, last year Rory Lee, they reach block. They let Rory Lee read whatever hole he wanted to go to. This year it's more specific. David Wright is a different type of runner. He runs to a specific hole and they block it accordingly.
They run out of the I formation, and the fullback Roberts has the first down, and he's down to the 18-yard line. He picked up 7 yards. Mike Berry, the left end, a 6'1 junior, made the tackle.
You know, the other thing about Thornton's offense is it's a lot more versatile than it was last year. It was one-dimensional. You still have that other dimension in David Wright, but Floyd Coleman has thrown the ball 190 times, so you have to worry about the pass as well as the run.
Bill Moser really likes the maturity he's shown this year and the poise he's shown. There's David Wright slithering through down to the 14-yard line, another 4-yard gain, and the yards are coming in relatively decent-sized chunks here for this ground gain offense.
And you know, Tom, the point that you made about Floyd Coleman being a little bit more mature, just in this drive alone, just the way he hands the ball off, the way he looks the ball into the stomach, every little thing. He's learned some better technique. He's a very polished quarterback.
8 minutes to go in the first quarter. Downers Grove scoring on their first drive, and we have encroachment, looks like, on the defense. Looked like Jay Crumble came across into the neutral zone. Crumble predicted to be a highly recruited player next year with good size already as a junior, 6'2", 235 pounds. Had a big fumble recovery early in the semifinal game against East St. Louis. And he was, yes, indeed he was in the neutral zone, and we take a look at the replay, Bill.
There he's coming, breaks the plane right there, and that's the call. So you can't do that. That's not legal.
2nd and 1 at the 9. Wright with a hole to the 3-yard line.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tom, if they were hurt by that first quick drive, they certainly aren't showing it offensively. They're taking it in chunks of 3 and 4 yards at a crack, and they're very patient about where they're going, and they didn't panic by wanting to throw the football.
A 6-yard gain there, and it's 1st and goal at the 3-yard line. And a big test here early for this Downers Grove defense. Wright, he's in for the touchdown, standing up.
Now, maybe it's going to come down to the kicking game. Who can kick extra points or who goes for 2 points?
Wright scoring his 22nd touchdown of the year. He leads the Wildcats in scoring with 133 points on the year. Remember, last year as a junior, he had a big game in the semifinals against Palatine with 2 touchdowns.
There's David Wright right there going in behind a tandem. And, of course, if you get 2 people in front of him, you know he's got the ability to score.
Henry Calderon comes in to attempt the extra point. He's 12 of 16 on the year, and he missed that one. So Downers Grove holds on to the lead, although it's a paper-thin 1-point margin with 7:26 to go in the first quarter here in the 6A championship game on Sports Channel.
Sports Channel's coverage of the Illinois High School Association State Football Championships is brought to you in part by the Chicago Tribune. Get in the game. Pick up a Trib. By Midway Airlines. No one flies nonstop to more Florida cities from Chicago than Midway. Midway Airlines. What flying should be. By WGN Radio 720 AM. Chicago's sports station. And by the Jerry Gleason All-American Automotive Group. You're never more than minutes away from the best car deal in town with Gleason.
The high school action is hot in Chicagoland, and nobody delivers it better than Preps Plus in the Chicago Tribune. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Preps Plus serves up the games, the players, and the plays that mean the most to you. High school's greatest hits, scores, and a way to keep track of the local sports scene. So dive into full-color coverage and get in the game. The high school game with Preps Plus, only in the Trib. For home delivery, call 1-800-TRIBUNE.
So early in the 6A championship game, each team has scored on its opening drive in different fashions. One lightning quick, the other rounded out.
And really, you would expect to be in reverse because Downers Grove North is used to being patient with their option offense, and it's not designed to go all the way every time. They look for their spots.
Henry Calderon in to kick off for Thornton. While Schultz and Dunlap are the deep men for Downers Grove. The kick with the win, taken by Schultz at the 15. Spins to the 30-yard line. And so the Trojans will have it for the second time in the ballgame. Take a look at this scoring drive, Bill.
A little bit of a contrast. You've got 8 plays, 55 yards. Took up 3 minutes and 37 seconds. And Thornton really didn't change their offensive theory. It was probably the series that they were going to go with, and it didn't make any difference whether the other team scored or not.
Jeremy Sample carrying the ball for the first time, and he looked to be in the open when he lost his balance and went down at the 40. Kelly Johnson knocked him off his feet.
And he was lunging. He would have gone all the way on that play.
Let's take a look at the offense now for the Trojans. There is the backfield with Marino, Dunlap and Sample, the running backs. Nemanich and Scott, the wide receivers, and Schroeder, the tight end. A very small, relatively, for Chicago Suburban football offensive line. The best blockers are Stone and Narosny. Churning it up the middle, Jeremy Sample. Just across the 45 is Henry Calderon, the linebacker, and free safety Fred Price. Team up for the tackle. We didn't have much time on the opening drive to set up the Wildcat defense. Here it is for you as they run a 5-2 defense, the front 5. The big player for them in the front line is going to be Sterling Lucky. He's matched up in a much smaller center. The linebackers and a good secondary. Second down. That's Dunlap with a blocker. And breaking through that block and getting a shoestring tackle was the free safety, Fred Price.
That line, now Downers Grove is getting off the ball so quickly that the linebackers are getting caught up in the wash. They cannot get out to make the tackles. And here you've got a lead blocker. You've got the tight end coming out in front to be able to block for Dunlap.
And a good job by Price of just worming around that block to make the stop. First and 10 at the 38. Keeping it Marino, and he's not fooled as Sterling Lucky fires through that offensive line to make the stop. A 6'4", 207-pound senior.
And Marino, as we see a picture of him right there, is the key to this offense. He's the young man that's got great judgment. He makes sure that the mesh is proper and has the relationships with the option back, and coach calls him the most valuable player.
Second and 8 from the Thornton 36. Sample just driving his way to the 41-yard line, dragged down by defensive left end Melvin Roberts, a two-way player.
And once again, whenever you see that dive, you're going to see Jeremy Sample, number 32, because 90% of the time, out of that veer option, Jeremy Sample gets the ball. As you can see, 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, but Jimmy Dunlap has more touchdowns than he does.
Pete Ventrelli says, we don't feature him in our offense. I'd hate to see his numbers if we did. At the 31-yard line, under 5 minutes for the first quarter, and early motion out of the offensive line. It looked to be Pete Stone, the left tackle.
And you know what? To me, the line is so anxious and they're so good at getting off the ball. That's why you've seen a couple of these motion penalties on Downers Grove's offensive line.
Foul stuck by the offense. Still third down.
It'll set up 3rd and 8 back at the 36. It's a little unusual. The two best blockers on the offensive line for Downers, Pete Stone the tackle, Keith Narazi the guard, they're on the left side. Usually a lot of your teams seem to be right-handed.
But remember, you're running a veer attack, so you dive both ways. It doesn't make any difference in the option attitude.
3rd and 8 at the 36. Sample hit at the line, but still drives to the 32-yard line, picking up 4. But it'll be a 4th down situation coming up for the Trojans. Jeremy Sample in the game against Conant at 141 yards and a touchdown. Against Naperville North, he had 2 touchdowns, and we have an injured Thornton Wildcat on the field. Difficult to pick up the number. We'll identify him as quickly as we can. 4:27 to go in the first quarter. 7-6 in favor of the Downers Grove North Trojans, and it is linebacker Lawrence Moore injured on the play. Well, how did Downers Grove North get to the finals? Well, it was a very easy road, of course. I'm kidding. Naperville Central, that was a relatively easy game there. They went into overtime to defeat Naperville North. Jim Dunlap's 3-yard touchdown did it for the Trojans there. Then they avenged a loss in the first round a year ago to Conant, winning 16-12. And then they went to East St. Louis Senior, broke their 26-game winning streak, the team that was ranked number 3 in the nation, and won the last game ever at fabled Parsons Field down there at East St. Louis.
You know, that was an outstanding win. But, you know, the win I thought that turned this Downers Grove North team around was a 20-14 win against Naperville North, where they won it in overtime. I think that gave Downers Grove the type of attitude that they could win it and that there were a lot of possibilities, and this is their year.
Lawrence Moore comes off under his own power, but well less than 100% there. But it looks like we will see him back in action a little bit later once they get that taped up or wrapped up. Looks to be an ankle. It is 4th and 4 at 32. Field goal is not a weapon for Downers Grove North. Marino on the option. It's Dunlap. He has the first down and then some. Down to the 16-yard line. He picks up 16 yards before the brakes are applied by Melvin Roberts.
Now, that's the first time they've run the lead option. You had a lead back out in front, and that's very difficult. And at the field level, we'll have an opportunity to see that pitch by Marino, and he cuts behind the lead back block. And there's Jimmy Dunlap. Boy, his numbers are outstanding.
It is 1st and 10 at the 16 of Thornton. Sample a big hole. His feet were knocked out from underneath him inside the 10-yard line. Sterling Lucky and also Fred Price got a shoulder and knocked him off his feet. He gets to the 6, picks up 10 yards, and looks to have a first down, but I think they're going to measure.
Here's a good view of the trap that they ran. It's just a little quick trap right up the middle, and there's Jeremy Sample, and that's, of course, where he's 196 pounds, and he has good speed, and he's just going to knock people over if they get in the way.
It's unusual for somebody 5'9" and 160 to be a leader, but that's exactly what Dan Marino is on this team. He says he gets those offensive linemen in his face and says, listen, you're supposed to do this, not that, and they listen to him. And it is 1st and goal for Downers Grove.
Well, every coach is in love with their option quarterback because he's an extension of the coach, and that certainly is true with Dan Marino.
Marino's also run for 714 yards. He has not yet had to run this afternoon. It's 1st and goal here. He did score, however, their touchdown. And he can't get away on the option there as he's dropped for a loss for 2 yards back to the 8. Cassell, James, and Sterling Lucky team up.
And that's the first time today that we've seen penetration by Thornton, and it broke up the relationship. And Dan Marino wisely did not pitch the ball. You'll see it from the end zone camera. There's the penetration right there, and of course he comes in and makes a tackle. Number 31,
Melvin Roberts.
Melvin Roberts, who also plays fullback.
2nd and goal from the 8. Sample, did he make it? The line judge says no. He is inches shy of the goal line.
His knee went down right at about the 1-yard line.
Stopping him was the quarterback, Kyle Johnson. It'll be 3rd and goal from inches away.
We'll have an opportunity to see where his knee goes down. He's driving. Yep. Good call. Excellent call.
Inches away, 3rd and goal. And diving over the top was the linebacker, Henry Calderon. He was in there before the snap of the football.
We had a foul before the snap. We had an encroachment on the defense. We're going half the distance.
Which is really not very much of a penalty. But
no, here you'll see him go right over the top, and of course he fudged a little bit. He got over there before that ball was snapped. but that's the type of aggressiveness that you have to show all over the field against the option. You've got to disrupt the mesh and the operation of the offense.
It's still 3rd and goal, and a fraction of an inch away from the goal line. Under 2.5 minutes to go in the first half. The Trojans right now leading by 1. Keeping it, Marino, touchdown, Trojans. Marino gets his 2nd touchdown of the ballgame.
Tom, we're going to have to see what Thornton does when they get the ball a second time for offense, but this could be a shootout. He has all the earmarking right now.
So Marino now with 15 touchdowns rushing on the year, as Dan Santini will try the point after.
Right behind Sample, he just follows right in.
The kick is good by Santini, and with 2:13 to go in the first quarter, it's the Trojans of Downers Grove North leading Thornton 14-6 here at Hancock Stadium. That, I think, drive, Bill, I think a little more indicative of the type of offense for Downers Grove as opposed to the first drive.
Yes, absolutely. I think that Thornton just hadn't fit in yet, and they weren't looking for that run. And Jimmy Dunlap is a threat every time he has the ball. He's not as big, and he hasn't gotten all the press that Sample has, but potentially because he had 17 touchdowns, you know he had the ability to make those kinds of runs.
Well, so far it's been a day off for the punters.
It might be that way all afternoon.
We've had 3 possessions, and we've had 3 touchdowns. And we're not yet through the first quarter here in the 6A championship game at Hancock Stadium. So now let's see how the Wildcats answer that drive for Downers Grove. You know, it's very unusual that losses are beneficial, but a loss early in the year, the regular season to Thornwood, was a loss that showed Bill Mosel, we got to make some changes. He made some wholesale changes, and everything really fell together after that loss.
Well, and then they really turned it up a notch when they came into the playoffs. They were behind in the number of games. They were behind against Loyola, beat Loyola 13-8. They scored 2 touchdowns against St. Rita in 31 seconds. A lot of people said they shouldn't be here, but they are.
Here's the kick by Santini, taken by a lineman at the 31. And he is up. That is Sterling Lucky. He is up to the 48-yard line.
I was saying earlier, Tom, about the kickoffs. Last night we saw some of those kickoffs, and they were squib kicks, but not by purpose. And you'll get a good example of it right here. They do this on purpose. They do this 50% of the time. We don't have the wind problem we had last night, and that's just the way they want to kick the ball.
At the 47, 1st and 10 for the Wildcats. David Wright hurdles to the right side and is into Trojan territory. Just outside the 47-yard line, a pickup of about 5 yards. The cornerback, Nick Katsafenis, made the stop.
Downers Grove's last scoring drive, 11 plays, 70 yards, 5 minutes and 13 seconds. I tell you, nothing has been done in 6 minutes in the drive.
This time it's the fullback Melvin Roberts to the 41-yard line. Chad Isaacson, one of the inside linebackers, making the stop. But it's a first down for the Wildcats, and they're on the march already.
And Melvin Roberts, who played last year, what an improved football player he is. His feet are picking up. He's got a little bit more mobility as a fullback. They have a tremendous attack as well.
I watched him last spring in Charleston in the state track meet. 1st and 10 from the 41. Fumble. Firing through there was the middle guard, Chris Kukra. And they're going to have to unpile the bodies.
Well, there was a mix-up there offensively, and I'm not sure. I couldn't see exactly what happened, but I think it was a missed call, and then the fullback took the ball wrong.
Thornton got the football back. Looks like, yes, it was Melvin Roberts that got it back. Watch the
reversed out, and he was looking, yes. Melvin Roberts went to the wrong hole, and he was supposed to go on the inside, and he ended up going to the outside, and the handoff wasn't there.
Notice the way the ball tends to bounce back to you on this new artificial surface here at Hancock Stadium.
And, of course, that's an advantage to a team that runs the option offense.
On 2nd and 9, Wright cleanly through the line. He's to the 30-yard line. Picks up 10. Sean Schultens, a 5, make that a 6'2 senior, makes the tackle. He deflected a 2-point after late in the ball game to help preserve that win over East St. Louis.
What quickness he hits the hole with. Right here, he's a slasher. He's not one of those scooters. He's always moving his feet, tremendous feet. We've seen that the last couple ball games, but he is the kind of guy, once he's out in the open, he'll take you on as well as run away from you.
And already he has 44 yards in the ball game. Much different style of runner, as you said, a slasher, compared to Rory Lee, who was more of the dancer a year ago. Toss goes to right. And he drives to the 25-yard line, picks up 4 more yards. Right tackle Jay Crumble makes the tackle.
Tackle by 76, you know what? He hits people harder than Rory Lee did last year. I really like this back. He's got those leg movement. His feet, he's high stepper, and he comes right after you. He's not afraid to take on a defensive halfback or anybody else that's in his way. He wants to get those extra yards. He's looking for that 1 more yard, even though he's been hit.
Second down, 6 yards to go at the Downers Grove 25. That time it's Melvin Roberts inside the 15 to the 10-yard line. Finally ridden down by the Trojan back. Sort of a hybrid between a linebacker and a secondary man, Jim Kennedy, a 5'9 junior.
And Tom, Melvin Roberts doesn't hit that line slowly either. He is really up in there quickly.
A 16-yard gain to end the first quarter. It's Downers Grove North leading 14-6, but the Wildcats are on the move.
I'm Don Feeney. They call me the Preacher. Welcome to Preachers.
Visit Preacher's Billiard Room in Oakbrook Terrace for an alternative entertainment experience. With 24 custom tables, we offer lessons, personal and corporate memberships, leagues, and tournaments for both novice and skilled players. Ladies are always welcome. Get advice from our in-house pro. Order a selection from our fine deli fare. Have your next party at Preacher's, a quarter of a mile west of Route 83 on 22nd Street, next to Bennigan's.
Looking for the right present? Try Sports Gifts. A holiday gift, perhaps? Try Sports Gifts. Want to treat yourself? The answer is Sports Gifts in
Forest Park Mall,
Sports Gifts.
North Park Mall,
Sports Gifts.
and Town and Country Mall.
football, baseball, basketball, hockey, jerseys, sweaters, hats, T-shirts, and more. Sports Gifts is easy to get to. There are 3 locations, and they carry more sports merchandise than you can possibly imagine.
Chicago sports fans know where to go. They go to Sports Gifts.
There's the score, and let's go quickly down to the sidelines for an injury update with Joe Passion.
You remember Melvin Roberts taken out of the game earlier? No problem. He just lost his contact lenses. By this drive, you can tell he found both of them. The other injury to Thornton linebacker, Lawrence Moore, left knee, no problem. He'll be back in the ball game.
Thanks, Joe. 1st and 10 from the 9. 1st and goal, I should say, and that running play picks up just a yard or so. One of the few times so far this afternoon that a running play has been held to less than 4 yards.
I never thought we'd see that kind of a football game. This game is just amazing. My tongue's hanging out of them. They're moving so fast.
Somewhere Woody Hayes is smiling from the grave in a game like this.
You got that right.
2nd and goal from the 8. The toss to right. And he bangs his way down inside the 5-yard line.
And that's the first time we've seen motion where they utilized an extra blocker to get him out in front of David Wright.
Kelly Johnson, the flanker back, was the man in motion, called a little package of dynamite by Bill Mosel.
Here's Kelly Johnson going in motion. There's the toss to Wright. And they have specific calls right here as far as the holes. And Melvin Roberts looking to turn the defensive end out. David Wright turns it up inside.
How'd you like that double team seal block to seal off that lane for him?
Excellent. That's exactly what Coach Mosel talked about doing with David Wright's running ability.
Right, hit immediately, trying to get free. Can't escape the grasp of Mark Zundel. What an athlete Mark Zundel is. In the game against Conant, the big revenge game for Downers Grove, all he did was have an interception, have a sack, score a safety, blocked an extra point, and also scored a touchdown on offense, the game winner, a 28-yard reverse.
You know, I've always abhorred the name big play guy. But if there was ever a big play guy, that's the young man right there, Mark Zundel. Hear more about him a little later.
4th and goal. The ball is at the 5. He wants to throw, but Coleman's being flushed out of the pocket. And he is knocked out of bounds at the 3-yard line. Mark Zundel is there to make the play. And so the ball will go over to Downers Grove on down. And for the first time, an offensive series is stopped.
Yes, and it's the first time it's an offensive play that was a pass play.
We take a look at Terry Clay. Coleman wanted to put it up, pass play all the way, then thought he perhaps had a chance to get it inside the pylon.
Well, he was flushed out. He didn't see anybody open. Wisely didn't throw because no one was. Everyone was covered, and he tried to run it in. A little bit too late, and there's the man, Mark Zundel, making the key play.
1st and 10 from the 3, and look to be sampled to the 5-yard line.
What you have to see from Thornton right now, Tom, is a little more penetration. Absolutely has to be more aggressiveness on their part because they have the speed to stay with the option, but you have to be more aggressive, and you've got to get some better play from Sterling Lucky at nose guard.
2nd down and 8 from the 5-yard line. Sample and Dunlap fire the 2 setbacks. They have a wide out to either side. Fumble. And looks like Thornton may have it inside the 5. It's 1st and goal for the Wildcats.
And
Lawrence Moore with the recovery.
Very uncharacteristic of Downers Grove North. As we said at the front of the game, they've only turned the ball over 13 times, and it's really an advantage to play an option offense on this AstroTurf. We'll get a chance to see the fumble. It isn't a real good option by Marino. He seemed to hold on to the ball too long and then pulled it out, and when he did, it hit Jeremy Sample's hip.
1st and goal from the 3. Right, close to the goal line, but not over.
And again, behind a power set backfield.
So Downers Grove, who again turned the ball over only 12 times all year. In fact, they had a takeaway giveaway ratio of +19. A costly mistake.
And that's really outstanding because this is such a high-risk offense that they have. And to do that all on grass and then to come here and fumble on the AstroTurf, well, that's high school championship football.
A power I formation. And stopped cold at the goal line, Melvin Roberts. It'll bring up 3rd and goal. Chad Isaacson, the linebacker, denied him the end zone.
On the line of scrimmage, you'll see Chad Isaacson. He's the leading tackler for Downers North, and he just comes right in there, and he didn't give him an inch.
Well, just a few moments ago, the Wildcats took it to 4th down and couldn't bring it in. Now it's 3rd and goal. They toss it back to Wright. He hurdles in for the touchdown. David Wright with the touchdown, his 2nd of the afternoon, his 23rd of the season. And so a second chance for Thornton, and they cash in on this turnover.
And you know they're going to go for 2. There's the touchdown. Pitch cuts behind the block and just hurdles over the goal line. And David Wright is a triple jumper. Went downstate as a qualifier, and you can see why right there.
And the Wildcats are going for 2. Coleman wants to throw. And that one, I think he just threw away, looking for Greg Miller in the left end of the end zone, but he had very little time in which to operate. People were in his face very quickly.
And he still goes to the drop back. I would expect to see him roll out and sprint out a little bit more, and would be probably a little more effective.
8 minutes left to go here in the 2nd quarter. And it's a 2-point margin now for Downers Grove at 14-12.
I'm amazed at the patience that Thornton has shown with their offense. They did not push the panic button when they couldn't score 3 straight times, and the offensive line for Thornton is obviously much bigger than Downers Grove North, but they went to wide, and David Wright went in to score.
Well, obviously, the way this game has gone, Bill, you feel like you've got plenty of time because nobody's really been able to stop anybody.
That's right, and you figure, well, nobody's going to have to punt, so we'll just go ahead and play offense. You know what you'd like to do is take the defensive team and just say, take a rest. Maybe the other team would fall over the line or something and make a mistake. That kind of a game.
Henry Calderon tees the football up for the Wildcats, as the Trojans of Downers Grove North have Schultens and Dunlap back deep at the 15-yard line, as Calderon is kicking against the wind. Schultens at the 23. He likes to take it straight up the middle. There's no dancing back and forth. He's a north-south return man, and he gets it up to the 41-yard line. On the tackle for Thornton was Edwin Martin, and there is the Wildcats scoring drive after the fumble.
And again, 3 plays, 3 yards, minute and 21 seconds, and we've got another touchdown.
1st and 10 at the 41-yard line for Dan Marino and the Trojans of Downers Grove North. They lead by 2. Dunlap twists and spins to the 43-yard line as right tackle Cassell James and right end Mario Cole team up for the tackle.
That's one of the first times we've seen Downers Grove North run out of that set. They went a pro set, divided backs, and then reverse option.
Pete Ventrelli in his 5th year as head coach at Downers Grove, a record of 35-16, 15th year overall as a coach, and he's done some traveling. Hayworth, East Aurora, Morton West.
Chicago Motor Club wants him.
Marino collared before he can get away on the option at the 42-yard line. Sterling Lucky just ran right by that 6', 162-pound center Chris Presley and spun the quarterback down.
And that's the counter option. Comes back to the short side of the field, but the penetration, and that's exactly what Thornton has to do with a little more aggressiveness if they're going to take away some of this option. As I said before, they have the speed and the athletic ability to play against an option offense.
3rd down and 9 yards to go. And just shy of the yardage needed for the 1st down is Sample. Kelly Johnson and Henry Calderon stop him at the 49.
Now, Thornton moved into a 6-1 defense to try and take the short yardage away. The problem with that, when you run the option, if they're past the line of scrimmage, they're going to go all the way for a touchdown.
It is 4th down, 3 yards to go. And back in punt formation, this will be the first punt of the football game. Chris Kukra, who's averaged 35 yards a punt on 35 punts on the year, drops back at his own 35. Good hang time. Melvin Roberts will let it bounce. It takes a Thornton bounce and is knocked down inside the 10-yard line.
It was kind of a lateral bounce.
So with 5 minutes and 43 seconds to go in the first half of the 6A championship game, it's Downers Grove North leading by 2 over Thornton as you watch the action exclusively on Sports Channel.
Gleason, people are always talking about the great deal they got at Gleason Chevrolet, Gulf Mill Ford, Gleason Buick, Gleason Dodge Jeep Eagle. What's so special?
Gleason, I put a special group of guys together to give a customer a special feeling.
It's true, the Gleason team is in a league all its own.
Thank you, Gleason.
Thank you, Gleason. Thank you, Gleason. Hey, Gleason's missing.
He's out working.
Thank you, Shea and Boniro. Shea and Boniro.
There are holes, and there are holes. Home entertainment centers, and then home entertainment centers. 10,000 radio stations. And America's classic radio station, Chicago's favorite, WGN. When radio really matters, it's the difference between Thanksgiving at Grandma's house and...
We are a couple of plays into the Thornton drive. There you see the score as we have just over 5 minutes left to go in the second quarter. And 2 plays into the drive, they pick up a first down. So it's 1st and 10 for the Wildcats. And the football is at the Wildcat 24-yard line.
And we've got 5 minutes to go, as you mentioned, in the second quarter, and we just saw our first punt.
David Wright gets through the line, has the first down. And he is forced out of bounds at about the 38-yard line by the free safety, Sean Schulten.
You know, you have to wonder at this point, whoever gets tired first might not win the football game because of the way they're running. Watch David Wright.
There was a penalty marker thrown, by the way.
He just sneaks through there and switches the ball. What an outstanding prospect he is. But there is a flag.
Maybe in the replay you saw the illegal block that has been called against the Wildcats.
Well, penalties will have to stop because nothing else is.
It's from the spot of the foul, so the ball is marked back to the 22.
On that play, we had clipping by the offense. Still first down.
So it'll be 1st and 12. A net penalty of 2 yards from the original line of scrimmage. Because again, it occurred a march off 10 yards from the spot of the foul, not from the line of scrimmage. David Wright pops through the middle, and it's to the 32-yard line.
He comes right back and tries to get that first down. Certainly makes up the penalty, and if you can keep him away from those penalties, you're going to be... well, David Wright is just a sensational runner. Not to take anything away from the running people at Downers Grove North, but you've got 2 there. Here you got one young man that is very elusive.
Wright picked up 11 yards. It's 2nd down and 1. That's a keeper by Coleman. He has the first down and is able to get to the 41-yard line before he's taken down by the Trojan back, Jim Kennedy.
Actually, Floyd Coleman is almost like the forgotten man in that backfield when you've got a big fullback like Melvin Robertson and a slasher like David Wright, and they're just looking for either the fullback or the tailback, and they're not paying any attention to Floyd Coleman.
Bill Mosel told me last year, I thought his best game of the year was the East St. Louis game. He said there were a lot of drop passes by the receivers last year. On first down, Wright trying to cut back, but he was followed up by Jeremy Sample. And going into the game, Bill Mosel said, I'm worried about Jeremy Sample, of course, offensively, but he really is a dominant force defensively.
And their 2 linebackers, Chad Isaacson and Jeremy Sample, are the reason that Downers Grove is undefeated right now.
3 minutes and 41 seconds left to go in the first half. It is 14-12 in favor of Downers Grove North, but Thornton has the ball. And just a couple of yards on that play for Melvin Roberts as the nose guard Chris Kukra stopped him for very little gain.
Downers Grove North defensively plays a 52 slant. They seldom blitz. They tend to play a very vanilla defense, but they have exceptional team speed. And one of the things they do is they rotate their defensive tackles. They don't have the same people. They keep putting fresh people in there.
3rd and 7 from the 45. Nearly intercepted, broken up by Jim Kennedy. Kennedy, a 3-sport star, also plays basketball and baseball, called a real competitor by Pete Ventrella. So, it's always good to have those good, tough Irish kids out there in the secondary, right?
There's Floyd Coleman throwing the ball, under 3 ball, and Kennedy makes that play. He could have played for Gillespie.
It'll be 4th down, and this will be the first punt of the football game for Raymond Brunt, who is averaging 30 yards a punt, but he's punted only 16 times. And the leap, and he is in trouble. And he is brought down at the 41-yard line, and so great field position for the Trojans of Downers Grove North. Al May finally stopped Brunt. He had to leap to make the catch, and that just threw the timing off.
The second punt. Second time they have to punt. You'll see the pressure. It's a high snap, and he just can't get the ball out. He looked like he wanted to try and punt it, but he just couldn't get enough room to get the ball out in front of him to kick it.
I'm not sure if even it was a normal snap, he would have had enough time. 1st and 10, Sample hammered to the 36.
And in a tight game like this, Tom, that's where you're going to have, that's where you're going to win or lose a football game, is because your kicking game is so key, and neither one of these teams have had to do a lot of punting. They're not accustomed to the long snap. They're not accustomed to having to do something a little different.
Just over 2 minutes left to go in the first half. And a score here by Downers would be a big momentum builder for halftime. Still on his feet, down to the 23-yard line is Dunlap. And saving perhaps a touchdown was the quarterback, Kelly Johnson. It's a 1st and 10 for the Trojans.
Every time Jimmy Dunlap has gotten the ball, he looks like he has the potential to go all the way. He gets a crack, he turns it to the outside, and he's got tremendous speed.
An 11-yard gain.
There you saw the diagram right there.
1st and 10 from the 28-yard line. Marino's going to throw. Has a man open. Touchdown! In the end zone, Mark Zundel.
That name is synonymous with touchdown. How many times he gets the ball, he has made how many catches?
That is his 13th reception and his 4th touchdown. A penalty marker thrown on the play, and it's going to come back.
Exactly. There's the play that we saw with Dunlap. And you'll get a chance to see the pass right here. Dan Marino looking for Zundel. Zundel doesn't play both ways, but he does come in on special plays, and that's why, because he knows how to score.
Illegal motion by the offense. We'll replay the down.
That's a tough penalty, and a play like that, a pretty 28-yard touchdown pass to Zundel, called back on the 5-yard penalty.
And particularly, Dan Marino doesn't throw the ball very much, but when he does, he's certainly effective. And he has, how many catches? He's got 12 catches, and he's got something like 4 or 5 touchdowns on those passes.
1st and 15. Sliding catch. Yes, it's caught. Sean Schultens, the 6'2 senior, their second leading receiver, with 11 catches on the year, and he makes a great catch, and we're able to watch him all the way.
Here's Sean right here, makes a nice cut inside, and tremendous catch. Now, a couple of coaches said they felt that he was one of the best athletes at the Downers Grove North football team, and there's a good example, and there's the numbers on Sean Schultens.
It is 1st and goal from the 8. Sample battling hard to about the 3 as he was wrestled down by linebacker Lawrence Moore. It'll be 2nd and goal with exactly a minute to go in the first half. So the Trojans didn't let the adversity of that touchdown call back slow them down at all.
Both of these teams are extremely resilient. They don't let anything bother them getting in the way of what they want to do offensively.
Dunlap, he's over for the touchdown.
Straight ahead, pure option dive. He sees a crack. I tell you, he is an outstanding football player. He is the unsung person in their offense.
He is their leading scorer at 104 points coming into today's game, and that is his 18th touchdown of the year.
Here's a good example of that. He just takes a crack and goes straight ahead. There's nothing fancy about that type of football.
Now, just like we saw last night in the 4A game, just some basic straight-ahead, power, smash-mouth football. The point after by Santini. He is good. And it is 21-12 in favor of the Trojans at Downers Grove North with 44 seconds left to go in the first half.
One thing about Thornton is they have been behind before, so this isn't anything new to them, so they'll just get their clock wound up again, come right back out and say, David, let's go.
So the bad punt snap, enabling Downers Grove to take the ball over on the 40, sets up the touchdown. And a big touchdown with halftime so near.
Here's that dive option, just a straight ahead dive, give, right behind the tackle and the guard, to the left. That's the side that, of course, that you have Pete Stone and the better part of the offensive line. And you have Narosny, and then you have Chris Presley, the guard. So that's where they like to go. Again, 5 plays, 40 yards, time 2:09. We have not had anything over 6 minutes yet.
One last chance here. for Thornton to strike quickly and regain a little of that momentum back before they talk things over at halftime. That was a big, big opportunity there, taken advantage of. Both teams now have taken advantage of opportunities given them by their defense.
28, Northwestern 23.
Let's see here. David Wright deep. And
Melvin Roberts as well as in to kick it off is Dan Santini with the win. This is Kelly Johnson fielding it inside the 5. He's got some speed as he's up at the 25-yard line. He has 4.4 speed in the 40, one of the fastest, if not the fastest, members of the Wildcat football team. Jim Kennedy made the tackle.
that was a good kick, and obviously Thornton looked like they wanted to let the ball go in the end zone, and then it took a bounce up high and decided, wait, that's not what I needed to do. So he ran the ball back and got it in fairly decent field position.
Clock is running with 30 seconds. Now the clock is stopped by the officials, and the officials take a timeout. Apparently an equipment adjustment there for Jim Kennedy. Kennedy, the 5'9", 160-pound junior.
It looks like he may have gotten what they call a number on the shoulder. He's moving his left arm, and he's probably feeling a little stinging all the way down that arm.
And filling in for him is Rich Strutter. First and 10 at the 27. The clock running now with 25 seconds left to go in the first half. And Coleman's going to put it up. Has protection that time. And a leaping catch. Jamie Vinci, the split end, their second leading receiver, with 21 catches on the year. A good possession type receiver. Dan Santini, the kickoff man for Downers Grove North, made the stop.
Here's Floyd Coleman going back to throw. He throws back. Excellent catch, and boom, right away, the substitute player comes in and makes an outstanding play.
A 9-yard gain, second and 1 of the 36, 19 seconds left in the first half. The draw to Melvin Roberts. He heads for the sidelines. A penalty marker is down back at the 45. This one may be called back.
What a block!
Roberts takes it all the way.
My goodness.
There is that penalty marker back at the 45.
Did you see that block, Tom? Oh, my. You better get the license number of that truck.
4 seconds remaining, and the penalty is indeed against Thornton.
Let's get us a chance to take a look at this block. There's Melvin Roberts switching the ball, uses the sideline, then comes back and see if we can see the block. No, we can't see it. We can't pick it up, but it was a tremendous block. There it is, right there. Right there, right behind Melvin Roberts.
But the penalty was early in the run, and it was a clip when he was on the sidelines.
Chad, come on!
And the recipient of that tremendous block at the 30-yard line is the injured player, and it is Mike Berry, a 6'1" junior.
Well, he did not get to see who hit him. Here's the run by Melvin Roberts one more time. That's the block right there.
With the block, that was Mandel Hester.
Mandel Hester. Wow, did he make a block? Woo! And fortunately, Mike Berry is up and looks like he might be all right. He just got to find out what the date is.
Maybe even the year. It is second down and 8 yards to go at the 29 after the penalty for the clip. Last play, most likely of the first half. David Wright still on his feet. Takes 4 Trojans to bring him down at the 35, and that is the end of the first half of the Class 6A championship game here at Hancock Stadium. A very eventful back and forth offensive first half. When you see these kind of numbers, Bill, you would think, well, we got a couple of wide open passing football teams. No, folks, it was done all on the ground so far.
Well, my tongue is hanging out. I can't believe the type of offense that both of these teams have had and the resilience. They've both had some problems. They both had a little adversity as far as turnovers are concerned. They still came back and ran the same offense. It's like it didn't make any difference. They're going to win the football game no matter what happens and go from there.
Both teams had touchdowns called back, but Downers Grove was able to come back and score. Thornton ran out of time. They had that big run of Melvin Roberts called back and just never had time maybe to get another chance. That may be a big, big factor.
And you look at the score, if you you know, Thornton's right back in the football game with a touchdown and 2 points. They obviously aren't going to kick it. They're going to go for it anyway, so they're right back in the game.
So now let's go down to the sidelines where our colleague Joe Passion has the Thornton coach, Bill Mosel.
Bill, first thing about that first half, going back and forth, this is an even football game.
Yeah, going back and forth, and we're making too many mistakes right now. We got to knock it off. We get the high punch snap and let them go ahead right before the half.
Any things you're seeing from Downers Grove you didn't expect to see from the films that you want to make adjustments at halftime about?
No, we just basically, we got to shut down the run. We got to get them stopped a couple times.
Any other keys that you feel you have to make adjustments on second half, not going your way in the first half beside the penalties?
Well, just basically cut down on the mistakes, shut down their running game a little bit.
Okay, Bill, have a great second half. Thanks for stopping by. Back upstairs to you guys.
Very quickly, one of Bill Mosel's high school teammates, Sal Rendy, this year was the AAA Minor League Baseball Manager of the Year. Anyways, we'll have more coming your way from Hancock Stadium. Downers Grove leads Thornton 21-12.
Lober Lincolnwood. The North Shore's largest Mercedes-Benz dealer is also the North Shore's newest Audi dealer. Now, the same dealership that can make driving a Mercedes-Benz more affordable than ever can also offer you the Lober Audi 3-year test drive. Get all scheduled maintenance at no extra cost for 3 years or 50,000 miles. Come to Lober Motors in Lincolnwood, the North Shore's import alternative on Lincoln at Toohey in Lincolnwood.
I'm Don Feeney. They call me the Preacher. Welcome to Preachers.
Visit Preacher's Billiard Room in Oakbrook Terrace for an alternative entertainment experience. With 24 custom tables, we offer lessons, personal and corporate memberships, leagues, and tournaments for both novice and skilled players. Ladies are always welcome. Get advice from our in-house pro. Order a selection from our fine deli fare. Have your next party at Preacher's, a quarter of a mile west of Route 83 on 22nd Street, next to Bennigan.
Do it today.
Tom Stalker, Bill Gorley, Joe Passion with you. You see Downers Grove North leading at halftime over Thornton. Here's how the scoring went in the first half, and it went lightning quick. As on the very first possession of the football game, the game wasn't even a minute old before Downers Grove North scored on a 2-yard run by quarterback Dan Marino. That set up, of course, by the 60-yard run by Dunlap. Thornton came right back. Their very next their first possession, it was a 3-yard touchdown for David Wright, a 55-yard drive. Point after was missed, I should say, and it was 7-6. Downers still led. Then Downers, with 2:13 left in the first quarter, scored on Marino's second touchdown of the afternoon. A couple of runs on that drive, a 16-yard run by Dunlap and a 10-yard run by Sample. Then in the second quarter, it was David Wright's second touchdown. That's set up by a fumble recovery deep in Downers territory. They missed the try for 2, and it was a 2-point Downers lead. And then with 44 seconds left in the first half, Dunlap's 3-yard touchdown gives us the margin. That plus the point after makes it 21-12 at halftime. Coming up, we'll have more from Hancock Stadium. As at halftime of the 6A title game, it's Downers Grove leading Thornton.
There are holes. There are holes. Home entertainment centers. And then home entertainment centers. 10,000 radio stations. And America's classic radio station. Chicago's favorite. WGN. When radio really matters, it's the difference between Thanksgiving at Grandma's house and...
The high school action is hot in Chicagoland, and nobody delivers it better than Preps Plus in the Chicago Tribune. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Preps Plus serves up the games, the play, and the plays that mean the most to you. High school's greatest hits, scores, and a way to keep track of the local sports scene. So dive into full color coverage and get in the game. The high school game with Preps Plus, only in the Trib. For home delivery, call 1-800-TRIBUNE.
Practice. Oh, yeah. Different schools. I worked at Hinckley Park.
Down here at halftime, it has been a very even football games thus far. And one wonders, how do you counter a team like Downers Grove or Thornton? Well, you always go to a coach that's played one of the teams, and Dave Prendergrass of Conant High School has played Downers Grove, and this is a team that gave a lot of people trouble. They're showing that to Thornton here in the first half.
Well, they gave us a lot of trouble. They jumped out to an early 14-0 lead against us, and we started to take some chances and got lucky and kind of slowed them down in the second half. But I don't have a good answer for how you really stop them.
When you have a ball-controlled team like this and you don't want to wait for them to make mistakes, how do you force them to make mistakes?
Well, you've got to have a little patience. As you saw it down there, they did fumble the ball. Of course, we were trying to be patient, and they never did fumble it when we played them. We started to blitz a little bit against them in the second half and had a little bit of success, but it's tough.
You know, both these teams, Thornton and Downers Grove, and you know, of course, what it's like to have to go through the grueling 4 weeks of playoffs, especially that first week with 2 games, the one on the Wednesday following the regular season finale, and then the immediate following Saturday. Is that good? Should the regular season maybe be dropped to 8 regular season games to allow 1 week in between each playoff? Or does that first week really bother coaches that much?
Well, it does get a little hectic. In a way, it's fun. I mean, it's all football. You play your Wednesday game. This time, we scouted a game that very evening after we played on the Wednesday. And then, of course, we game plan Thursday and Friday and go out and play the game Saturday. And I guess all the statistics have shown that there are not significant increases in injuries. But it does get a little hectic. It might be better if you could have that week to prepare.
You, of course, always hear about, and we've talked about this in our halftime presentations of our RHSA football finals, the public league versus private league debate. It goes on, and people seem to almost be jealous of people like Conant High School and the other outstanding high schools, but it seems like guys like you have paid your dues, and that's why you're in positions that you are.
Well, I started out in the Catholic League myself. I played in the Catholic League, and I coached there for 6 years. It was a lot of fun, and you pay your dues in the Catholic League. There's some good competition. Maybe don't get paid quite as much as in the public school districts, but there are a lot of great coaches in the public schools now that have paid their dues in the Catholic schools.
One final thing, I know a lot of the players come in here. The first quarter is always tough for the championship game because for many of them, turf is foreign to them.
Yeah, we've never had the opportunity to play on turf. I coached in the Shrine game down here, and had a little bit of a chance to get familiar with it. It's kind of up to the individual kid on what feels better for him.
How's your Conant team going to be next year, Dave?
We could be good. I think we might be better than we were this year.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate that very much. And stay with us, because when we come back, we'll have the scoring highlights and the summary of the first half of today's 6A championship game on Sports Channel.
Gleason, people are always talking about the great deal they got at Gleason Chevrolet, Golf Mill Ford, Gleason Buick, Gleason Dodge Jeep Eagle. What's so special?
Gleason, I put a special group of guys together to give the customer a special feeling.
It's true, the Gleason team is in a league all its own.
Thank you, Gleason.
Thank you, Gleason. Thank you, Gleason. Hey, Gleason's missing.
He's out working.
Thank you, Shea and Boniro. Shea and Boniro.
The high school action is hot in Chicagoland, and nobody delivers it better than Preps Plus in the Chicago Tribune. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Preps Plus serves up the games, the play, and the plays that mean the most to you. High school's greatest hits, scores, and a way to keep track of the local scene. So dive into full color coverage and get in the game. The high school game with Preps Plus, only in the Trib. For home delivery, call 1-800-TRIBUNE.
It's the Trojans of Downers Grove North leading Thornton by the score of 21-12 in the battle for the Class 6A championship. It took them quite a while to really get warmed up in this game, Bill Gorley, and get into the flow of things like maybe the very first play of the game, 71 yards for Dunlap.
Thornton definitely wasn't ready to play on that first down, and of course Dunlap, they're looking for Jeremy Sample because 90% of the time he runs the dive, and Dunlap runs the dive right here and just goes straight ahead. Now he's caught from behind by
Cassell James.
And he's what a way for a defensive tackle to catch a young man that has that kind of speed in Jimmy Dunlap. But Jimmy Dunlap leads the offense.
Very next play,
Dan Marino fakes it to his inside fullback, Sample, and goes in to score.
So Downers Grove scores first, but Thornton comes right back.
And, of course, there's the young man that's going to do it all, David Wright. If they're going to get back in this football game, that's the man that'll bring them back.
Very next drive for Downers Grove.
Jeremy Sample fakes. Dan Marino follows in behind him for his second touchdown.
In the second quarter came the first big turnover of the game.
Here's the fumble by Jeremy Sample. The ball was put on the hip. Thornton recovers the ball as they had approached the goal line and could not score because of a passing mistake by Floyd Coleman. There's the run by David Wright, an elite, because he's a triple jumper and a great athlete. Goes in for the score.
Downers Grove had a 28-yard touchdown pass called back, didn't let it stop them.
And there's that young man again that leads the offensive attack in terms of touchdowns. Jimmy Dunlap scoring on a veer option dive.
So take a look now at the statistics from the first half. And does anything jump out and grab you, Bill?
Not really. We're looking at what we thought we would see. At the time of possession, not much difference. That was a big key for Thornton. They couldn't allow Downers Grove North to have the ball a lot, but they're scoring on 2 and 3 downs right away. So time of possession means absolutely nothing. The penalties have hurt. The turnovers have hurt, and of course there's a glowing one in terms of Downers Grove North because they don't turn the ball over and it cost them.
They don't turn the ball over there. They have a commanding lead at halftime. As it is, Thornton still very much in the football game if they score on their first drive of the third quarter.
And it could very well come down to the kicking game.
Coming up, we'll have the third quarter from Hancock Stadium, our final championship game of this big weekend here at Hancock Stadium.
Got rain, wet, bumps and humps, coups, mud, holes and lumps, all the ruts and rocks that you're up against. You need Bridgestone counties.
With just a finger's width of tire between you and the road, you need world-class technology, quality engineered to give you Bridgestone confidence.
Bridgestone counties.
Bridgestone tires are available at AK Tire Service, just 1/2 block east of Main Street in Downers Grove. Having trouble finding a good attorney who can handle all your personal or job-related problems? Then write down this number. Dial 386-4600. Gafford, Donnelly & Associates has years of experience in both personal and job-related injury. Plus, we can handle all your real estate affairs. Call us for a free consultation. We'll take you through the complicated law process getting you a fair settlement, because that's our specialty. Call 386-4600 for the law offices of Ronald Gafford, Thomas P. Donnelly & Associates.
We're just a few moments away from the start of the third quarter here in the 6A championship game, and we went over the team stats a little while ago, Bill, but individually, of the 200 yards on the ground for Downers Grove North, Jimmy Dunlap, 123 yards and 6 carries.
And that's the you know, you were asking me if a statistic comes out and jumps out at you. That's the one. 6 carries, 123 yards. You know, if you shut him down a little bit for Thornton, you're right back in the football game, but I don't know if it's that easy.
And down on the sidelines, let's go to Joe Passion.
All right, thanks very much, fellas. Down here with me is Coach Ventrelli, and I'll tell you, at halftime like this, you got to be thinking, because this is still a close ball game.
Oh, this is anybody's ball game. There's 24 minutes of football left, and this thing is going to be very, very intense. We've got to be able to shut down that running game on the inside, and if we can't do that, things are going to get a lot more hectic than they already were. It's a great game for the fans. I hope they're enjoying it. As a coach, I don't want to get into a shootout with this football team. They're just got too many athletes, and they're too good.
How do you harass all that? How do you control it?
Well, first thing we've got to do is we got to start coming off the ball a little bit better on defense. We've gotten handled up front a little bit, and that's a credit to their offensive line and their backs. Their backs are finding seams on us, and we've got to be able to close that down. That's what we talked about at halftime.
Does that mean in the fourth quarter, when you have the wind at your back, you may put the ball in the air again?
Fourth quarter, if we can get the wind at our back and keep a lead in the ball game, I hope we don't throw the ball in the air. I hope we use up that clock, because they're awfully tough to get the ball back to.
Have a great second.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And fellas, back upstairs to you, to that warm, cozy skybox.
Do I sense a little jealousy there from Joe? I tell you what, Pete Ventrelli put it very, very well there, Coach Bill Gorley. In fact, this is a great fans game. This really drives you coaches crazy, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely. You know, everybody wants to see trick plays. They want to see the ball in the air. And this back and forth, you've got to make too many decisions. And it breaks down what you really and truly want to do, because you want to do things in series. You want to set up one play together, and it's so bang bang that you can't do that, and you don't have control of the game. That's the nice thing about coaching football. You can control what you do. Not too much done the first half here.
There you take a look at Jimmy Dunlap and his numbers for the first half. A touchdown, a big 71-yard run, the very first play of the game. Big numbers, not unusual, though, for Jimmy in the playoffs against Naperville Central. He had 165 yards and 17 carries and scored 3 touchdowns. And, of course, he had the 3-yard touchdown in overtime, which was the game winner in the second round against Naperville North. Sometimes, you know, you get the guys that are quote-unquote the forgotten people. And again, Ventrelli says we don't feature one particular back. Jeremy's come up with the big yards, but Jimmy Dunlap obviously features very highly. Bill Mosel for his Thornton Ball Club, he knows he'll have the football to begin the third quarter, and he needs to take advantage of it very quickly, get right back in the game.
Well, I like the way Coach Mosel has come around with his team and changed his attitude as to what he had to do offensively, and very well suited for David Wright. And of course, you've got that big fullback, Melvin Roberts, out in front, and yet he's taken some of the load off of him. Now, if they can get their passing game going with Floyd Coleman, because they have had the ability earlier in the season with that, because they've thrown the ball 190 times, you could see a little different football game the second half.
But really, the passing game has not been a factor for Thornton in the first half, and really, Bill Mosel wants to be more balanced. Last year, he said we were one-dimensional. We had a sophomore quarterback. We needed to protect Floyd Coleman. We also had Rory Lee. This year, from the very first, they wanted to be balanced. They have not shown that balance in this game yet.
No, and their passing game today, when they have gone to the pass, hasn't really been just hasn't been very good. They've dropped back, they've had too much pressure, and Floyd Coleman has not been able to throw the ball the way he would like to.
There's the scene of very delightful afternoon here in Bloomington Normal at Illinois State University, Hancock Stadium, brand new artificial surface installed this year. And just a delightful afternoon compared to weather that you could have this time of the year here in central Illinois. And now the captains will come out to midfield to determine exactly which direction the teams will play. There's Floyd Coleman, only a junior. That's the other thing. Remember, that kid's he's only a junior, 1 more year to play.
Right, is that any indication that they might want to start throwing the ball, or is he just warming up his iron to be able to hand it off to David Wright? Well, we're going to get a chance to see Wright shortly.
They announced the attendance for this session, 8,476, and the total attendance for all the sessions, great fan support this weekend here at Hancock Stadium, of nearly 28,000 for the 3 sessions yesterday, last night, and of course here this afternoon. And you see the stands well populated here at Hancock Stadium.
I think a lot had to do with the weather. This has just been outstanding weather to come out and see a football game.
And there have been some great matchups this weekend.
Well, certainly no one could go away and be disappointed, that's for sure.
Downers Grove will kick off to begin the third quarter, and will be going across your screen from right to left. And Thornton will have the football to start this second half. Is back deep is Kelly Johnson. And kicking off for the Trojans will be Dan Santini. And the wind that has calmed a little bit from the start of the game will be at his back.
Be interesting to see if they go with the squib kick again and give good field position to Thornton.
Line drive kick. Taken by Johnson inside the 10. He's got some room to work. A penalty flag has been thrown, however, and this one will very likely come back as he is knocked out of bounds close to the 50-yard line.
It was a clip. You could see it. It was right out in the open. You get a chance to see it right here. There's the clip right there by
Mandel Hester.
Mandel Hester, yes. That was the same man that made that crunching block earlier in the first half.
He just wanted to keep the good thing going.
Well, he just needs to get his head in front of him a little bit, that's all. Well, that's too bad, because that was a nice run back, and that certainly would have given outstanding field position to Thornton to start the second half.
Instead of having the ball near the midfield marker, it'll be all the way back to the 13-yard line.
On the run back, we had a clip by the receiving team. First down right here.
21-12 in favor of the purple-clad Trojans of Downers Grove North. Purple, the dominant color of both teams. Thornton wearing the white. Melvin Roberts bounces outside. And he's close to a first down. Great effort by the 6'2 senior Melvin Roberts. Mark Zundel and Sean Schultens finally make him put on the brakes.
This is what makes Thornton so dangerous. He's hit right at the line of scrimmage, bounces off, bounces back to the outside, and then almost picks up enough yardage for the first down.
He picked up 11. So it's a first down at the 24.
Did I say almost? 11 yards, I think, it's still 10, isn't it?
Get the rule book. Coleman looked like a busted play. He's able to shoot it up through a seam. Mike Berry brings him down by the ankles at the 28-yard line. He picked up 4. Looked like some problems perhaps with the handoff, Bill.
Well, it looked like a muffed handoff, but he had enough presence of mind. Oh, the back fell down. David Wright fell down, and he had enough presence of mind to turn it up and made something out of nothing.
Maybe a year ago as a junior, he might not have done that.
That's right. He looks very much, he's smooth. He's a lot smoother than he was a year ago, and I saw some other films early in the year, and he looks a lot better. He's very definitely improved.
From the 28, pounding it up the middle, Melvin Roberts, maybe 2 to the 30. Nose guard Chris Kukra, a 5'11", 187-pound junior nose guard, makes the stop.
You know, talking about Floyd Coleman, he's 6'3", 175. He's still starting to learn how to use that body. Next year certainly would be an outstanding year for him, I'm sure.
Of course, David Wright's a senior. They lost Rory Lee, reloaded with Wright, who will step forward a year from now for Thornton.
I'm sure there's somebody walking those halls or in practice that they know that'll be right there.
It is 3rd and 4, and Coleman's going to throw, and the receiver slipped down. Wide open on the out pattern at the 40-yard line was Kelly Johnson, but he lost his feet from beneath him.
And had he not fallen down, it would have definitely been a completion.
Kelly Johnson, big play speed, 4'4" on the 40. Broke his ankle in the championship game a year ago against East St. Louis. So it is 4th down, and Raymond Brunt will be back to punt the football.
And here's where you hold your breath, because we've seen some problems already with the punting game.
It was an adventure last time, and he just gets it away that time, and got away a good one. And bounces out of bounds, but Downers Grove will have great field position at the Trojan 48.
And Mark Zundel almost has the block, and we'll have an opportunity to see this from a good angle. Comes in, he's the man. Oh my goodness. Got it, the ball in between 2 people. There's an isolation on the punter. You can see it come right in between the 2 people. I don't know how he got it off.
Mark Zundel will look at that and say, how did I miss the football? 1st and 10 for the Trojans. Marino just got the handoff, and Sample busts inside the 45-yard line, tackled by Lawrence Moore.
This could be a key possession right here for Downers Grove North. If they can come right back and get some points on the board, and they'll be tough to catch.
He picked up 8 yards on that running play. 2nd and 2. 10-10 left to go in the third quarter. Downers Grove with the ball, leading 21-12 in the 6A championship game. Jeremy Sample gets to the 40-yard line and gets the first down. Henry Calderon, their second leading tackler on the year, makes the stop for the Wildcats.
And they ran a slant dive, and that's the first time that we've been able to see a motion. There's Jeremy Sample's numbers, 12 rushes, 70 yards. Not a bad day's work, but his partner's got over 123 yards.
For Sample, had touchdowns of 22, 63, and 11 yards in the semifinal win over East St. Louis. Schultens is the man in motion. Sample bumps outside and is to the 36-yard line to pick up a 4 yards on the running play.
You know, we heard Dave Pendergast talking about how you stop Downers Grove North, and he wasn't sure how to come up and do that. And the big thing is, with the athletes that you have for Thornton, they've got to get better play from their people up front. They're just not getting the penetration. A few times that they've gotten the penetration, they've been able to hurt Downers Grove North, but they're not consistent enough.
The way the offensive line is played for Downers, you'd think they were a lot bigger than they actually are. They're playing much bigger than that. On the reverse, there is Zundel, but that one was smelled out by the Wildcat defense as defensive left tackle Xavier Garth, the 6'3 senior, stayed home and made the play. That's been a big play for Downers Grove this year.
Yes, and we'll get a chance to take a look at it because they ran motion to try and get the defensive backs to move and to make an adjustment. But the people at Melvin Roberts stayed at home, and he was able to pick up that reverse because Mark Zundel's had a lot of success scoring, not just getting big yardage.
Second down, straight ahead running play for Dunlap as he drives bodies inside the 30-yard line. And looks like he's got the first down as Sterling Lucky and Lawrence Moore team up for the stop. It is a first down for the Trojans.
And Dan Marino, who's a sure-handed quarterback, almost looked like he had a little trouble with the exchange. You know, you have to wonder, playing the option on grass, your timing would be a little slower with the option. With this type of AstroTurf, your timing has to be picked up a little bit, and sometimes if you haven't practiced on it, it could make a difference.
Nemanich and Schultens are the wideouts. Schultens is the man in motion. Quick handoff and a big gain for Jeremy Sample to the 24-yard line. Tremaine Byers on the tackle. Take a look at the left side of the offensive line. Those two great ones there, Stone and Narosny.
And those are the two people that you have to be able to run over, Narosny and Stone. Pete Stone is a Division I prospect, and a lot of people in the West Suburban feel he's one of the best linemen they've seen in the last 4 or 5 years.
2nd and 4 from the Wildcat 23. The pitch out to Dunlap. Can he turn the corner? He's to the 15 and out of bounds at about the 13.
Now they've gone away from the dive. Now they're going into another section of their option offense. They've been running the dive. They've got the linebackers inside, and then they come back with the pitch. There's the fake to the dive. Good ball handling. Good pitch back to Dunlap, and he's off to the races. And, of course, you've got Schultens trying to block downfield, and that's what makes the option tough.
But that play was set up by the other inside runs on the previous plays. 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line. Schultens in motion again. Sample trying to pick his way. Gets only to the 10, a gain of 2. Sterling Lucky drove him back. Mario Cole also there on the tackle.
Well, that's the point that you just mentioned about running inside. That's what makes the option so tough. You get people thinking that they're coming inside, and they want to take that away, and then you come back with the pitch or you come back with the keep. And that's why they call it the triple option.
Under 7 minutes to go in the third quarter. Downers Grove with the football, leading 21-12. There's been no scoring yet here in the second half as Thornton coach Bill Mosel looks on. 2nd and 9 from the 11. Sample to about the 7, Tremaine Byers. Second-string cornerback brings him down.
Downers Grove is using the motion, and they're going both ways. They're going to the wide side of the field to try and get a lead blocker out in front, and then they're also using motion to make an adjustment in defensive secondary. Thornton is going man, and they're rotating to the motion.
3rd down and 6 from the Thornton 8-yard line. Keeping it is Marino, and he's able to get it to the 5-yard line, setting up 4th down. Sterling Lucky brought him down. Looked to be the play that was called. Although he looked a little bit unsure, perhaps, as like he maybe didn't want to hand off the football.
Right. It looked like he may have wanted to pull it out. We'll have an opportunity to see it from our end zone camera. He wanted to pull that out, and he wanted to be able to pitch the ball, and he turned it up wisely because he did not want to turn it over. He's had a couple of problems earlier with the ball in the hip, and then, of course, he fumbled it down inside the 5-yard line at one time. Does not want to turn it over, and I'm sure the coach knows that.
4th and 3. Marino keeps, and he goes nowhere. He's stopped cold by Lucky, James, and Tremaine Byers, and they'll take it over on downs. Thornton will have it deep in its own end.
And that's the key we talked about. Sterling Lucky getting the penetration in nose guard that is necessary. We'll get a chance to see it. Sterling Lucky coming in, disrupting the mesh part of the option, and that's the key.
Lucky, a 2-year starter, had a great year last year, an even better one this year. On 1st down, diving up through the middle, David Wright, the 5'9", 175-pound senior. Jay Crumble from the defensive front line makes the tackle. It'll be 2nd down, 4 yards to go from the 13.
So before that drive was stopped and stalled, we said that was a key series, and if Thornton could hold them, that maybe they could still stay in the game. If they didn't, we thought maybe that it might just be a runaway.
2nd down. The tailback, David Wright, is able to get extra yardage after the hit to about the 18-yard line. He picked up 5 and looks like he has the 1st down. Chad Isaacson makes the tackle. One of the several other combinations for this Downers Grove team. Chad's brother was a linebacker a year ago.
Chad Isaacson, he takes on a blocker right there, sticks his nose right there. He's a tough young guy, and he's not a very big young man. Also, as far as linebackers go.
Also, Jeremy Sample's brother Garrett a year ago at 1,400 yards. And, of course, Mark Zundel's brother now plays at Brigham Young. And there's another Zundel coming up the ranks. He's a sophomore.
You know, I've got to believe if David Wright has a sore ankle, it certainly is not bothering him one bit. He is hitting into the hole right now in the 2nd half with just as much life as he did in the 1st half.
It is 2nd and 5 of the 23-yard line. Melvin Roberts, 930 carries on the year, a 6'2" senior. Under 4 minutes for the 3rd quarter. Right, looked like he wanted to go outside, but was hemmed in. Chad Isaacson.
And it was
the cornerback, Kexafanis.
That was a mistake by David Wright. He did not turn it up inside. Melvin Roberts had the defensive end knocked down, and we'll get an opportunity to take a look at Melvin Roberts making the block. He's got his person down. Now David Wright runs to the outside instead of turning it up inside. Just a mistake in judgment.
It is 3rd and 6 from the 22. Coleman wants to throw. Out of the hands of Greg Miller, who was open. He was hit in the hands on the dead run at the 50-yard line.
He would have ran right away. That would have been that would have been a game breaker right there.
Miller was a starter a year ago. He is the backup quarterback and playing 2nd string.
Lloyd Coleman, not a classic pass, but certainly right on the money. And the quarterback got hit right after he threw. Oh my, he got it right there. He didn't even get to see whether the guy dropped it or not.
It's 4th down, and Raymond Brunt has to back up to get it. He gets the kick away. Not a good one, but he was able to get the kick. A fair catch, and the ball looks to be loose. Who's got it?
Thornton. Thornton got it.
It's Thornton's ball on the fumbled fair catch. We've got 3:02 left to go in the 3rd quarter as it's Downers Grove North leading 21-12, but new life here for the Wildcats of Thornton.
The high school action is hot in Chicagoland, and nobody delivers it better than Preps Plus in the Chicago Tribune. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Preps Plus serves up the games, the play, and the plays that mean the most to you. High school's greatest hits, scores, and a way to keep track of the local sports scene. So dive into full color coverage and get in the game. The high school game with Preps Plus. Only in the Trib. For home delivery, call 1-800-TRIBUNE.
It is 2nd down and 7 at the 36-yard line with 2:27 to go in the third quarter. Coleman looks to throw, and the reception made by Jamie Vincey, and he has a first down at the 48-yard line, a gain of 12 yards, and a Downers defender is down and hurt.
That recovery for the fumble was by Henry Calderon, the linebacker, and of course that negated a poor kick and gives Thornton the opportunity to get right back on track with their offense.
The injured player is Chris Kukra, the middle guard.
And that could be a devastating blow to the defense for Downers.
Because going into the ball game, Pete Ventrelli says his play defensively could be just a big, big key for our success.
Well, nose guards always have a tendency to disrupt people. I know Woody Hayes always felt anybody that would play a nose defense, you had to double team the nose because he wanted to be able to start his play without having any disruption. And a lot of people subscribe to that theory.
Here in the 6A championship game, Downers Grove North out of the West Suburban Silver Conference, taking on Thornton from the very tough Sitka East Conference. Late here in third quarter action at Hancock Stadium, and we'll be back with more from Hancock after this timeout. Chris Kukra being helped off the field for Downers Grove. Let's go down to the sidelines and Joe Passion.
There has only been one major injury this year to Downers Grove North football, and that was to starting cornerback Jim Kennedy. You remember him? He hit his left shoulder late in the second quarter. Well, they had to pop the shoulder back into joint, his left shoulder, at halftime. He wanted to play again. Doctor said, no way, he'll have to sit this one out. We'll update you on the other injury as soon as we can.
Thank you, Joe. It is 1st and 10 for Thornton from the 45. And into Downers Grove territory is Melvin Roberts. Chad Isaacson, the linebacker, makes the tackle.
You have to like the way Thornton is so resilient, and their backs are so active going into the hole. Melvin Roberts, again, he's playing just like this is the first quarter.
2nd down, 4 yards to go at the Trojan 49-yard line. Roberts with just about 80 yards in the afternoon. Coleman wants to throw, and he's showing more confidence in this passing game. The reception made into the 38-yard line is Greg Miller.
And this really makes Thornton more versatile because now you have to worry you can't get those linebackers coming up to play the run. A good example of Floyd Coleman's throwing back here, throwing to his wide out. Good little move, a little juke there, and gets an extra couple yards. And that could really open up the offense for David Wright with the passing.
And nothing helps a quarterback's throwing confidence more than getting good protection. 1st and 10. Roberts breaks free, gets to the sidelines. He's down to the 28-yard line and close to another first down before he's tackled by the quarterback, Nick Katsafanis.
That was an outstanding run by Melvin Roberts. He was stuffed, and he broke it to the outside and then extended himself to pick up an extra 2 yards. Outstanding effort, Tom.
He gets 10, and watch him pick up the first down on this run.
He's stuffed right there. He keeps his legs going, and then he has the presence of mind to switch the ball. Now, he switched to the wrong arm, but he still switched.
Wright was knocked off balance, but sidestepped his way through the line to the 24-yard line after he picked up 4 more yards, as we are under a minute now for the third quarter. This is a big, big drive for the Wildcats as they trail by 9. with lots of time left.
What an explosive offensive game. Anybody that walks out of this stadium and says that he didn't enjoy the game is something wrong with him, because this has just been a tremendous football game.
On first down, the pass is dropped by Vinci, and he was closely covered by Katsifanis. Katsifanis in his last 4 weeks playing the best football of his career, starting his 25th consecutive game this afternoon.
Here's a good example. The catch is made, and Katsifanis comes in and knocks the ball. He strips the ball from James Vinci.
Wasn't really a fumble because Vinci never really had possession of the football.
But it was an excellent strip by the defensive halfback, Katsifanis.
2nd and 10. Right, hemmed inside, and that enabled Jeremy Sample to make the tackle at the 22-yard line and holding that to a gain of 2. And Kukra is right back in the lineup.
Right, Kukra was just had a little number there and probably right back in. Pretty tough to keep somebody out if the doctor doesn't say anything about having to stay out.
Especially for this game, Bill, because frankly, there is no tomorrow.
You got a long time to nurse your wounds.
And getting up a little bit slowly was one of the Wildcat offensive players, but David Wright gets right back into the huddle. 3rd down and 8 from the Downers Grove 26-yard line. Coleman's really getting gutsy with the pass, and that one goes through the hands of Kelly Johnson. It's just about like a year ago when quite a few of Coleman's passes were dropped by his receivers against East St. Louis.
You couldn't ask him to throw the ball any better, and it's right in their hands both times.
Did you look at the look Floyd Coleman gave Kelly Johnson? And he still is not very happy with him.
He just throws the ball. It's in his hands. It just goes right through. Looks like he's got butter on his fingers.
That's a big play, folks, because now it's 4th down and 8 yards to go. 8 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. Coleman throwing, broken up, intended for Barry Starks, their leading receiver, and he was at the goal line. But the double coverage closed on him quickly, knocks the ball away. Ed Wallace and Katsifanis, the 2 cornerbacks, combined to get the ball back over for the Trojan offense on down.
And he forced it right here, Tom. He tried to force it into coverage. There were 2 defensive backs right in the area, and Sean, of course, the free safety comes in and knocks the ball down.
The incomplete pass leaves 3 seconds on the clock for the 3rd quarter. Big hole. And up to the 31-yard line is Jeremy Sample.
You know, Tom, I'm not sure if Thornton has ever stopped that play. It seems to me that every time, whether they run the veer to the right or to the left, there seems to be a big hole, and that back finds it, and he's got 5 or 6 yards.
1 quarter left in the Illinois high school football season. Here in the 6A championship, it's Downers Grove North leading Thornton 21-12 here on Sports Channel.
Because Schaumburg Toyota, the nation's largest retail Toyota dealer, has exceeded every Toyota quota with 3 times the volume and 3 times the inventory, Schaumburg Toyota can now offer you brand new 1990 Celicas with an exclusive $1,000 instant cash rebate. Choose from the nation's largest inventory. That's right, deduct $1,000 from the sticker price of any new Celica in stock now and start dealing from there. Only at Schaumburg Toyota, Toyota's exclusive Celica incentive headquarters, 875 West Gulf Road. Hurry, sale ends December 4th.
Fact, we're into the football season and the Chicago Bears are storming through the Midway. Fact, there's a new weekly television series providing fans with a keener insight into Bears football. Fact, the program features Tom Thayer and Mike Tomzak, and each week they'll be joined by a Bears teammate. Fact, it's shot on location at TNT's restaurant in Joliet. Bear Facts.
Tuesday night, right here on Sports Channel, it's time for the Francis Pay Show, featuring Chicago's Big Ten school, the Northwestern Wildcats. Coach, it's going to be an exciting season.
An improved defense, continually improving offense. Christian, Buchanan, Len Williams. You've got Dwight James on defense, Dan Freveletti, Ashmore, Broker, Pat New, and on and on. It's going to be an exciting season. You're exactly right.
And you've got Francis Pay, Tuesday nights, right here on Sports Channel.
4th quarter. First and 10 for Downers Grove from the 32. As Sample is able to crawl up to the 37-yard line, picking up 5 yards, setting up second down and 5. Lots more coming your way on Sports Channel. Full day of football here this afternoon. And coming up, it'll be the DePaul Blue Demons against Hartford. We'll join it in progress immediately following the completion of this 6A championship game from Illinois State.
A lot of people would say that the Downers Grove North option offense has not shown anything other than the dive, but why do it when you get yards like that every time you run the dive?
Here's Sample of first down and yardage plus up to the 50-yard line. He picks up 13 yards. Kelly Johnson picks up the tackle. When a Downers scores here, that might just about be enough.
Thornton has not stopped the dive, and here's another good example. There it is to Jeremy Sample. He looks to the outside, picks up his seam, picks up 7-8 yards every time, and they have not, Thornton has not stopped that dive once today.
On first down, Dunlap tries to spin free, but is corralled for no gain by Calderon and Lucky.
And they wanted to go into the reverse option. They reversed out, counter option, and it just took too long. That straight ahead type of series is what really has been bothering Thornton all day.
Second down, 10. With the ball on the Downers side of the midfield stripe. Whistle stop it just as the play gets underway, so somebody either moved early or was lined up in the neutral zone. And we'll let the officiating crew, headed up by Bill Loud.
We had a penalty before the snap. We had a dead ball foul. False start by the offensive line. Repeat the down.
Bill went to the Red Cashin School of Referee Announcing.
Here you'll see the left tackle move before the snap of the ball, and that's where they had that movement.
Sterling Lucky, the outstanding middle guard for Thornton, is around the Wildcat bench.
Looks like he's getting something taped.
Second down, 15. Sprinting out is Marino. Under pressure, sacked back at the 39-yard line. Cassell James and Mario Cole do the trick.
Now you know why Coach Ventrelli doesn't want to pass the football.
Marino has run for 714 yards this year, but he had no chance with great pressure from the Thornton defense.
It's a pass all the way. He's coming out. There's certainly no option, and he doesn't have any place to go. Tremendous pressure on the outside by Thornton.
And suddenly Downers Grove North is going the wrong way. It is now 3rd and 20 at their 40.
Key play for Thornton right here. See if they go to the beer.
It's Sample across the 50 to the 48, but well shy of the yardage needed for the first down. And so they'll punt the football as Tremaine Byers and Damon Henderson combine to make the tackle. But I tell you what, when he carries the ball, you got to hold your breath.
That's the basic veer right there, just to the outside off the tackle, and it makes a great effort. That play, again, has not been stopped all afternoon, and anytime they needed a few yards, they've gone to it.
And so Chris Kukra, who had a punt of 41 yards his first time here in this ball game, will try to improve on that average. Gets a good foot into it. Rolls along the 16-yard line to about the 15, where it's down by Downers Grove North.
Well, there's a lot of time left, but I have to believe that this series of downs offensively for Thornton could really tell whether they're going to get back in this football game or not, Tom.
Very, very delightful fall evening here on Thanksgiving weekend.
Beautiful picture. Outstanding.
8 minutes, 39 seconds left to go. Popping through is the fullback Roberts, still on his feet to the 32-yard line. A gain of 16 yards on the running play for the 6'2", 200-pound senior Melvin Roberts. He got through the line as quick as a halfback would. what, Bill? He really shot through the line, and that's where we pick him up.
He's so quick. He runs with some authority. He's able to swivel his hips. He keeps going all the time. He's never given up. And that's about the 4th or 5th time that we've seen him do that. He's been hit at the line, boom, makes a play, and continues on. He does seem to have a little trouble, though, with his eyepieces, with his contact lenses.
After the play, defensive lineman for Downers Grove, Jay Crumble, hobbled off the field. And he has been replaced by Mike Basic. First and 10. Right to just across the 35-yard line, a pickup of 4 yards, perhaps.
And if you're Downers Grove North, the one thing you have to be concerned about is the ability for David Wright to break it. He has that capability, and that has been the key. That's how Thornton got into this game in the first place. They're a big play football team. They've taken advantage of it.
But the yards have come very, very hard fought for Thornton this afternoon.
Yes, they have.
On 2nd and 7, Coleman throws. That one's through the hands of Kelly Johnson, but that one a much more difficult effort than the one that he let go through his hands at the end of the 3rd quarter.
Yes, but catchable.
And the passing game has sort of deserted Thornton so far in this ballgame.
And you'll see when Floyd Coleman goes back to throw the ball, he has to go up for it, and then there's the hit. Tremendous, catches him in midair. Oh, my goodness.
If the passing game has been a factor for Thornton, it's been a negative factor.
It certainly hasn't lent to their offensive threat.
3rd and 6. Maybe this time. That time he hangs on, takes a couple of hits, and gets first down at the 45-yard line. Isaacson and Katsafanis with the big hit, but a big, big catch for Barry Starks.
And that's 2 plays in a row that Katsafanis has made a good hit. We'll see a good example right here. And Katsafanis is right there to make that play along with Chad Isaacson.
Starks is their leading receiver, 45 catches on the year, but that's only the 2nd time they've gone to him today. Getting through the line in the Downers Grove territory is David Wright, Sean Schultens. Make that Melvin Roberts, I'm sorry, on the carry. Sean Schultens makes the stop, but not before he gets to the 47-yard line.
When you have both those backs with 3s, it's hard to tell who it is, except that you've got a little bigger body in Melvin Roberts.
2nd and 2.
Excellent fullback.
Coleman again the throw. This time, it's hung on by Miller, and he runs out of bounds at the 30-yard line. A pickup of 17 yards on the play, and Ed Wallace ran him out of bounds.
Actually, Thornton had caught a few more balls, they would have had a lot more offense. Now the ball's being called back because of a penalty.
Let's go back and take a look at it. It was about as good of a pattern as they've run all afternoon.
Yes, excellent. He threw the ball right on the money, and then we had a little room to run, but now it's a penalty, and it comes back.
Costly mental breakdown.
On that play, that was illegal motion by the offense. Play's brought back to replay the down.
And Coach Mosel talked about the mistakes at halftime and that they needed to cut down on, and this is exactly what bogged down their offense.
So it's 2nd and 7. And the running play straight ahead to the Downers 48-yard line. As getting off the bottom of the pile after the carry, a hard afternoon for that young man, Melvin Roberts.
And Melvin Roberts has had to get the hard yards. David Wright, of course, you look for him to break the big ones, but Melvin Roberts has to get those first downs, and that's what you like about a fullback, a tough-nosed fullback.
Big 3rd down play here for Thornton. And Coleman wants to throw. And it's hung on to by Miller. And he gets a few yards after the catch to the 37-yard line. They pick up 10 yards. Chad Isaacson, the linebacker, and the cornerback Wallace make the tackle. But that is showing some real confidence in your passing game. It hasn't been very successful, but yet they're continuing with it.
Well, he's thrown the ball 12 times. He has 5 completions. And there's at least 4 other balls that should have been caught. Interesting thing about Miller is he's the backup quarterback. He makes an outstanding catch right there and then picks up a few extra yards. But going into today's game, they were concerned about him having to play quarterback.
Here's Wright breaking through the line and ridden out of bounds at about the 25-yard line for a gain of close to 12 yards. Dan Santini pulled him across the sidelines.
he gets into the secondary, I don't know that there's too many people for Downers Grove North that can catch him.
He picked up 11 yards officially. It is first down and 10 yards to go, and this is some kind of a drive for the Wildcats.
And, of course, that's what they need to stay in this football game.
They trail 21-12. 6 minutes, 29 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter. Coleman sprints out. Throws it back over the middle, and it's a penalty marker down. Incomplete, but pass interference will be called as Johnson was hit before the football came to him. And the penalty will be called against Sean Schulten.
A very aggressive defensive secondary, and you can see it right here. We actually didn't see him come in, but they're not too happy about that kind of play, and that's been about the third or fourth time where it's really been close as to whether you could call, well, the defensive secondary is just coming in and making a play very quickly and very aggressively.
It'll be a big first down for the Thornton Wildcats as the clock is stopped with 6:23 left to go. The ball is at the 30.
On that play, that was defensive pass interference with an automatic first down.
At the 13, the penalty's dead even, but that's a big one.
Yes, and Thornton really need to keep this drive alive.
David Wright runs into his own blocker, bounces outside, and is corralled out of bounds at the 12-yard line. Leading the defensive charge was Sean Schulten.
Excellent effort, but I think he probably made about the same amount of yards as when he was stopped originally.
In fact, he just got back to the line of scrimmage. It'll be second down and 10 at the 13 with 6:16 left to go. David Wright was very patient last year, said Bill Mosel, and he waited his turn, and boy, when he got his turn, did he take advantage of it.
He hasn't wasted any time, that's for sure.
Coleman has protection. Starks makes the catch, and he's in for the touchdown. Barry Starks with his 9th touchdown reception of the year.
And he's the young man that they like to go to. Now, they haven't thrown in his direction very many times, but he's the leading pass receiver for Thornton.
Coming into the game, he had 45 catches. Coleman throwing his 11th touchdown pass of the year.
Good example right here. He's on the goal line, knows where he is, wide open, absolutely wide open. Just rolls right in to get the touchdown. Now they're going for 2 points.
They are down 21-18 with 6:09 left to go. And penalty markers are thrown as they line up at the line of scrimmage.
Lined up maybe in the neutral zone. Let's see the call.
Before the snap, we had a dead ball fall struck by the offense. Replay the try.
So they'll do it from 5 yards farther back or the 8-yard line.
Now that changes your philosophy a little bit in terms of what you want to do offensively. Now they might be forced to have to throw the football.
And Thornton has taken a timeout. We'll take a break as well with 6:09 left to go in the fourth quarter. Downers' lead has been shaved to 21-18 in the 6A championship game at Hancock Stadium on Sports Channel.
There are holes. There are holes. Home entertainment centers. And then home entertainment centers. 10,000 radio stations. And America's classic radio station. Chicago's favorite. WGN. When radio really matters, it's the difference between Thanksgiving at Grandma's house and...
So the 5-yard penalty has changed Thornton's thinking. They brought in the kicking tee, and maybe they're going to try to kick the point after, but take a look, Bill. This is the touchdown.
There's the touchdown, and of course, the Starks, the tight end, the leading pass receiver with 45 catches, makes a touchdown.
Henry Calderon to try the point after. It's a line drive kick, but it is good. And so they trail by 2. It is 21-19. in favor of the Trojans of Downers Grove North with 6:09 left in the fourth quarter.
Not a classic kick, but certainly efficient.
They don't ask how far, they just ask, you did it. And he did it, he put it between the uprights.
There's 6 minutes to go, a lot of time yet. I've got to believe, defensively, Thornton, if they can stop Downers Grove North here, have a possibility of winning this football game. If they can't stop them, to stop the dive, they've got a real problem.
So crucial series upcoming for both sides. We take a look at the Wildcat scoring drive. A tremendous drive, a lot of yards covered in very relatively little time, Bill.
10 plays, 85 yards. Again, time of possession, 2:38. You would like to be able to cut down the time.
So in the kick is Henry Calderon. It goes between Sean Schulten's legs. He picks it up at the 10 and is able to get it back to about the 19.
We're starting to see a little frustration on both teams. Not accustomed to having people and allowing people to do certain things to them, and we're starting to see a little bit here and there. We saw it on the last penalty, on the defensive halfback call, and starting to see a little bit on the kick.
1st and 10 from the 18-yard line. Dan Marino at quarterback. Hands it off, and the running back corralled immediately. Eric Jones the first to get there, as Jeremy Sample had nowhere to go.
That's one of the few times they've stopped that Vera dive, and of course now will Coach Ventrelli go to his bag of tricks and start opening up the offense a little bit more? Not because he hasn't had to, because of the dive.
Remember, immediately following this 6A title game, DePaul Blue Demon basketball here on Sports Channel. DePaul against Hartford. 2nd and 9. And that time just a mass of bodies falls to about the 21-yard line. That Thornton defense is really fired up. Cassell James, Mario Cole combined to stop Jim Dunlap.
And there again, now they ran the dive to the other side. Now did they go to the counter option? Do they go to the pitch? There's a substitute coming in and telling Dan Marino what to run.
3rd down and 7 from the 21-yard line.
Big play right here for Downers Grove North.
The pitch is fumbled, and Thornton's got it at the 21-yard line. Lawrence Moore comes up with the loose football, and a big, big break for the Thornton Wildcats.
When you run this type of offense, you know that you have that possibility. They have not experienced it all season long, and they've had 2 fumbles in this football game today, both at crucial times. We'll have an opportunity. He pulls it out, pitches the ball, and just can't find the handle. Dunlap cannot find the handle, and Thornton recovers the football.
And you see the jubilant Wildcat linebacker Lawrence Moore, after he recovers the fumble, on 1st down, right to the outside of the 10, to the 5, and to the 2-yard line. Wallace and Schultens hurl him out of bounds, but that is one fired-up Wildcat team, especially remember in the context of the utter bitter embarrassment they suffered here last year.
Wright was stuffed at the line. He bounced it outside to show you his athletic ability and speed, and then, of course, is corralled by his shirt and thrown down at the 2-yard line.
He picked up 20. It is 1st and goal from the 1.
The fans are getting a little rambunctious. They're starting to smell possible victory.
Here's Wright. He's in for the touchdown. And Thornton has taken the lead.
Now, do you go for 2 or do you kick the extra point?
All right, Coach. You know, a lot of coaches have these situation cards on the sidelines where, given the score differential, they already have it determined by the card.
Well, I don't know about the card, but there's no way that I would let the extra point be kicked to that last one. If you'd gotten away, you'd have got a bloody nose. I'd go for 2 right here.
2 here would give you a 6-point lead. Penalty marker is down as Kelly Johnson swings it into the end zone, but it's a holding call against Thornton.
And again, penalties have been the nemesis for Thornton. Every time they've had a key situation going for them, they've come up with a flag.
So they will step off the yardage, 10 yards on the holding penalty, as Bill Mosel will now send in this play.
Play with a hole on the offensive line. We'll replay the try.
So they move the ball back to the 13-yard line. Again, it is 25-21 Thornton. 3:56 left to go in the fourth quarter.
Now, in another situation like this, they threw the ball. Floyd Coleman went back to throw. They're doing it again.
Coleman now runs, throwing it into the end zone and throws it away. And the try for 2 no good. And the Wildcats will settle for their 4-point lead and try to protect that lead with just under 4 minutes left to go. So the Wildcats have scored 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns in the span of just over 2.5 minutes, as Coach Pete Ventrelli and Coach Bill Mosel know it's coming down to this 4-minute span.
This is where enthusiasm is going to make the difference. If they can get the defensive team to the point where they will swarm the ball and take away the dive, they can win this football game. They could be the state champions. But if they don't, it's all over.
Very quick scoring drive.
Again, 40 seconds, 31 yards, 2 plays.
There's all that set up by the recovery of Jimmy Dunlap's fumble.
And again, the other thing that's a key now is, again, it goes down to the kicking game, is can they get the ball down the field so that Downers Grove North does not have good field position.
Henry Calderon to kick, as Schultens and Dunlap are the beat men. Sidewinding kick. Schultens takes it to the 30. And spun down at the 33-yard line. A field goal won't even tie it. They need a touchdown, and they've got 3 minutes and 49 seconds to do it.
I'm not so sure that Downers Grove North has the ability to be able to kick the field goal.
They list Dan Santini as a field goal kicker, but he hasn't been tested.
Right, and of course, you can't go the other way because they don't have the, Thornton doesn't have the field goal ability either.
But it doesn't matter. It's a touchdown they need. Sample is really swarmed. Sterling Lucky, Mario Cole, the first 2 to get him, but Sample is beginning to be hemmed in by this Wildcat defense.
The athletic ability and the speed and the aggressiveness now is going to be shown. And this is what the coaches were trying to get them inspired on the sideline so that they would be able to meet that challenge. They took the dive away again. That's 3 times in a row.
2nd and 8. Sample skirts along the line and is up to the 40-yard line, picking up 5. Kyle Johnson, Lawrence Moore team up for the tackle. Take a look in the middle of the defensive line, Sterling Lucky.
Sterling Lucky, that's the young man that we talked about earlier. He comes in and finishes Jeremy Sample off. He is a key man in this defensive scheme for Thornton Wildcats.
Big 3rd down and 3 situation for Downers Grove North. Marino didn't hand it off, and he doesn't get the yardage for the first down. Eric Jones brought him down.
The penetration disruption between Marino and Dunlap.
2:27 left to go, and a timeout taken by the Trojans. Under 2.5 minutes, 25-21 Thornton here in the 6A championship game from Hancock Stadium.
Sports Channel's coverage of the Illinois High School Association State Football Championships is brought to you in part by the Chicago Tribune. Get in the game. Pick up a trib. By Midway Airlines. No one flies nonstop to more Florida cities from Chicago than Midway. Midway Airlines, what flying should be. By WGN Radio, 720 AM, Chicago's sports station. and by the Jerry Gleason All-American Automotive Group. You're never more than minutes away from the best car deal in town with Gleason.
There are holes. There are holes. Home entertainment centers. And then home entertainment centers. 10,000 radio stations. And America's classic radio station. Chicago's favorite. WGN. When radio really matters, it's the difference between Thanksgiving at Grandma's house and...
It is 4th down for the Trojans of Downers Grove North. You see they trail by 4 with 2:27 left to go. And the fans on both sides on their feet. It could all come down to this play. Marino throwing, caught by Schultz for a first down at the 48-yard line. A fingertip grab by Schultz.
And you notice the man they went to, the best athlete supposedly on this football team. Marino to Schultz. There's the pass. And he had to really go up, makes a one-hand grab and brings the ball back in with the other hand.
A gain of 12 yards. Here is Dunlap, still on his feet, inside the 40, down to the 38-yard line. 2:03 left to go.
That catch really inspired Downers Grove North. It's taken away a little of the enthusiasm of the Thornton crowd.
They will have to bring the chains in because he is very close to first down yardage. 1:58 left to go. Marino passing. For the first down, he had passed only 55 times. You see they are about a foot short of the first down. So it'll be officially spotted at the 39-yard line. And it'll be 2nd and 1.
And the pass was a little bit of a surprise because they didn't go with their bread and butter.
Dunlap and Sample are the setbacks. Sample gets the first down and drives to the 34-yard line. He picked up 5 yards. Great line surge.
And back again to their basic. Running the veer dive. Giving the ball to Sample. They like to run that veer dive with him 90% of the time. They go with him. Let's see what they go with the pitch. They might stay away from him because they've had so much trouble with penetration.
It's intercepted. It's intercepted by Kyle Johnson. Johnson to the 30. He may go all the way. Kyle Johnson has scored for Thornton, and that may do it. He stepped right in front, intercepted the pass, and went all the way for the touchdown with 1:26 left to go. So very typical of this very opportunistic defense for Thornton. What a big play to perhaps seal Thornton's state championship.
Does that picture tell everything?
Oh.
With 1:26 to go, 72-yard interception.
Let's take a look at it again.
Marino, a little bit of a duck. Kyle Johnson just steps in front and then makes a great run. He looks like he's going to get tackled by Marino right there. Slows up, tiptoes a little bit on the tulips, and then just turns it on and goes all the way in for a 72-yard return.
A play that will go down into the rich athletic tradition of Thornton High School.
Kind of ironic
for Downers Grove North to come into this game and lose it on 3 turnovers when they only had 12 all season long.
And what was one of the keys we talked about on the start of the broadcast, they cannot commit turnovers. They committed 3, as you said this afternoon, a fourth of what they committed all season long.
1 interception and 2 balls, twice inside the 10-yard line when Thornton scored.
Thornton is going to go for 2. David Wright is stopped at the 1-yard line. 1:26 left to go. 3 fourth-quarter touchdowns for the Thornton Wildcats, and they lead 31-21.
And you know that coach, Pete Ventrelli, will think about all season, all winter long, about throwing the football. He'll have a nightmare. He doesn't like to do it. He went to it, and it cost him a state championship.
And off of all 3 Trojan turnovers, Thornton has scored a touchdown.
Yes, twice on the fumbles inside, once inside a 10 over here, and I don't remember where the other one was, what, a 13-yard line, yeah. And then, of course, the 72-yard interception return.
Of course, you talk about the rich athletic tradition of Thornton. You can go all the way back to the basketball team, the breakneck basketball teams they had with a star by the name of Lou Boudreau back in the 30s. Of course, went on to stardom collegiately and in Major League Baseball, and just a great tradition. They came here last year, and in their own words, we were embarrassed. 55-8. They've avenged that here this afternoon against the team that eliminated East St. Louis in a convincing manner.
But you know, I think the word that really describes Thornton best of all is resilient.
On the return for Downers, that is Mark Zundel. And you take a look at the turnovers in the fourth quarter, no scoring. 3 turnovers lead to 3 touchdowns. And they have regained the lead and lead it now with 1:12 left to go. That one broken up as they were looking for Sean Schultens, and it was broken up by the free safety, Fred Price. That stops the clock with 1:09 left to go. It'll be 2nd down and 10 at the 33. Samples and Dunlap on the setback. Marino is sacked. Back at the 28-yard line by Mario Cole, who had 3 tackles for loss coming into this ball game. And we are under a minute. It'll be 3rd and 14. And a timeout by the Trojans of Downers Grove North.
Well, they're going to see the ball every time now, and of course that's just to try and make it respectable. You know, if you look at the score 31-21, you'd never realize just how tight a football game this was. This was almost as exciting as our 4A game. Certainly a lot more explosive offensively.
Think about the great 4 games, excuse me, we had yesterday with Sterling Newman winning the 1A title. Of course, that 2A ball game where Seneca defeated Gillespie. And in 3A, it was Belleville-Altough with the victory. And last night, we had the privilege, and I do mean the privilege, watching one of the best games in state final history in the 21-20 win last night as Joliet Catholic defeated Geneseo. And then in our 4A game today, Mount Carmel rolled on to another state championship with a shutout victory.
I don't know if this old body could handle any more of these kinds of games.
3rd and 14, and Samples stopped for a gain of only a yard. Lawrence Moore with the tackle, 43 seconds left to go. You take a look back, and Thornton scored 3 touchdowns in less than 5 minutes to come back from 21-12 down and now lead by 10.
And that has been the story in the playoffs. They were behind 3 of their 4 football games in the playoffs and came back here to championship and did the same thing.
pass thrown behind Schultens at the 46-yard line on 4th down. And Thornton will take it over on downs with 19 seconds left. And Bill Mosel and his Wildcats are just a few ticks of the clock away from being crowned 6A state champions and erasing the bitter memories of a year ago.
Well, and no one expected, they took 3rd place in the Sitka Conference. No one expected them to be here. Last year, they were one of the last teams chosen to get in the state tournament. Again, not a very high choice. Got in and then played some people and played Catholic teams back-to-back and beat both of them and didn't really play particularly well. They came up with big plays to win, but they really didn't have the consistency, and then they come in the championship game and two plays and they're behind already.
The 2 teams they lost to in the regular season are no patsies, Thornwood and Homewood Flossmoor. Homewood Flossmoor, that was a big revenge game. It was also homecoming for the Vikings because Thornton eliminated Homewood Flossmoor in the playoffs a year ago as Thornton made it to first to the finals. But then they were rematched again in the playoffs, and it was 44-32 in favor of Thornton in the big 400-yard game in that contest for David Wright. So some felt maybe last year they didn't belong there with the 3 losses, although they certainly earned the berth to be there. This year, they were a surprise team, as we said at the top of the show. You take a look, East St. Louis and Thornton, say one team's going to be back, you figure it's East St. Louis. But Thornton is about to prove everybody wrong, and they're 19 seconds away from being crowned the 6A state champions.
And then they didn't know if they were going to have a quarterback or a tailback to come back into this game.
Everybody's in tights as Coleman goes down to one knee. One timeout remaining for Downers. Will they stop the clock? I don't think so. The clock is winding down. It's all over. And capping off the big weekend, the comeback victory for the Wildcats of Thornton as they win the 6A state championship with a 10-point victory over the Downers Grove North Trojans as Bill Mosel got the victory ride and jubilation for the Wildcat faithful. The 2 coaches and the players now congratulate each other on a well-played game. At one point when they were down 21-12, I wasn't giving you too many chances for a comeback for Thornton, but the way, as you said, they were resilient and bounced back.
And they had to do that all year, and it never seemed to faze them. And I think the best example was, the first play from scrimmage, they're down to the 2-yard line. Downers Grove is down to the 2-yard line, and they go in the next play and score, and yet it didn't faze them. So, that, again, that's the best word to describe the way this team has played all year. And then to lose to Homewood Flossmoor the way they did early in the season, and then to come back and beat them in the playoffs. And the way they beat them with 404 yards from David Wright, 38 carries, 5 touchdowns. I mean, they do it with a flair.
It'll be a much happier bus ride back to Harvey 1 year after they lost here to East St. Louis as they come back with the state championship trophy, winning the 6A title and wrapping up a big weekend of football. Another outstanding weekend for the 6 class championships for the Illinois High School Association. Our hats off to all the champions, in fact, to all the finalists here, as Bill Mosel gets the now traditional cold bath earned by all the victorious coaches.
Well, at least it's not too cold tonight. He can handle that.
So then, Bill, as we wrap things up here for the last time, just a great game to finish this up on, a great comeback win for Thornton. Just a lot of great football this weekend. And again, we salute all the champions and all the finalists.
And 3 turnovers did in Downers Grove North. And they've not had them all season long, so.
Tonight's game was produced and directed by Tim Sutton. The executive producer of Sports Channel is Steve Corbett. The remote facilities were provided by Trio Video of Chicago. Coming up in progress, college basketball. DePaul hosts Hartford live for the Horizon next. For Joe Passion and Bill Gorley, I'm Tom Stalker saying so long for now. Again, the 6A state champion is Thornton. They beat Downers Grove North 31-21. The proceeding has been an exclusive Sports Channel presentation.
Really good music comes from Clarendon Hills, or Sounds Deluxe on Ogden to be exact, featuring the latest speaker innovations from Bose.
Get the SE5 Acoustimass speakers October 26th through November 26th. Get $100 off any speaker trade-in. The SE5, small in size, big in sound. That's any pair of speakers, no matter what the condition, for $100 off.
So get into the quality sounds of Sounds Deluxe on Ogden in Clarendon Hills.
You got rain, wet, bumps and humps, curves, mud, holes and lumps, all the ruts and rocks that you're up against. You need Bridgestone confidence.
With just a finger's width of tire between you and the road, you need world-class technology, quality engineered to give you Bridgestone confidence.
Bridgestone confidence.
Bridgestone tires are available at AK Tire Store.